Heading out of Florida and onto a more serious race than the last one, we're taking the 20-hour trip to Kansas to start the first race of round 3 as 4 of our drivers race for the championship. We're at the progressively banked 1.5 miles here in Kansas City, Kansas Speedway. This is the Evan Wall Media 125 here at Kansas, and we didn't have a sponsor for tonight's race, so Bill let me take it. Let me make sure. I look like I might be peeking my microphone a little bit. Let me cut that down just a little bit. But as I was saying, we didn't have a sponsor for tonight's race, so Bill let me take it. Therefore, tonight's race is going to be sponsored by EvanWallMedia.com, your home for any of your graphic design, photography, or videography needs. Thank you all for checking out EvanWallMedia.com. I appreciate it. But on a more important note, I want to tribute this race to my grandmother, who just passed away a couple of days ago. I know that she and my grandfather are watching over and supporting the broadcast. They've both always been very supportive of everything that I did from a young age, so I'm going to make tonight the best broadcast that I can in honor of her, and I'm not going to take too much time away from the race here, but I do want to shout out the Parkinson Foundation at parkinson.org and the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research at michaeljfox.org, and the links to both of those can be found down in the bio, down below the video, if you want to take a look at them and possibly donate in order to support their mission to improve care and advance research towards a cure for Parkinson's disease. So if you guys check that out, I would really appreciate it. But moving back to a positive note, the race at the front of our point standings is super close. Nick Nickerson is only 4 points ahead of Cody Welch there in second place, and got some special graphics for this. Of course, you can see Nick Nickerson first in points right now with 3,264 points, followed closely behind by Cody Welch, 4 points behind your leader. Then Ricky Hart Jr., 20 points behind your leader. And finally, Benjamin Lacey, 30 points behind your leader. And we've got Kansas tonight. Then coming up next week, Miami, Road America, and Richmond. And Marshall, if you had to make a guess right now, who do you think is going to be walking away with the trophy after our championship night at Richmond in 4 weeks?
You know, I think as time goes on progressively, hey, I wish that was me there. He looks like he's having some fun. You know, if I'm being honest with everything we've seen all season, we say it every time when you have to make a prediction. The money should be on Nick Nickerson. I mean, the guy, he's at the head of the points for a reason. He's had an absolutely incredible season all year. It feels like he can win anywhere, any single week, any week. He's a threat to win the race. I mean, he's top of practice right now at 1.5 miles. He's won at the short tracks. He's won at so many road courses, kind of what he's known for. We got a road course in the last 4 races of the season. We got a Road America in 2 weeks' time. So, you know, everything is kind of in his favor. But I think that the pressure is got to be more on than ever right now. I mean, Cody Welch, you just saw in the graphics there, 4 points back. The guy is right there, and it feels like, again, I said it last week at the All-Star race, but he's kind of had the hot hand recently. He's just been knocking off those top spots, and it feels like he has that ability to kind of kick it up into an extra gear on a more consistent level that I think will pay off for the championship. And then, you know, you got the final 2 guys, Ricky Hart Jr., who I think tonight in particular, he might be my pick for this race, because only 20 points back may seem like a lot in our point system, but that's only a couple races. That's maybe one mistake from one of the top guys. And I think Atlanta is a track that really suits Ricky. He's proven he's really good at the 1.5 miles this season. I think this is kind of a track that's going to fall into his wheelhouse. So I think tonight could be a good start. He's going to have to keep up that momentum. And then Benjamin Lacey, who, I mean, to his credit, he may seem like the underdog of the top 4, knowing the amount of kind of star power up there up front. But he's a star in his own right. Won his sponsored race this season earlier this year at Auto Club. That's got to be, you know, in terms of timing there, in terms of being clutch, he's proven in that case that he knows how to do it. So in the real-life NASCAR series last year, Chase Elliott, many may consider him the underdog. He took away the title there. So don't count out Benjamin Lacey. Sometimes, you know, guys can find that extra zone. But to answer your original question, if I had to put the money down, I'm going Nick Nickerson. But again, tonight specifically, keep an eye on Ricky Hart Jr.
Yeah, Nick Nickerson is the obvious choice, and you say keep an eye on Ricky Hart Jr. right now, but look at Cody Welch there in the practice standings. He couldn't be any closer to Nick Nickerson. He couldn't at all be any closer to Nick Nickerson. Nick's best lap was a 31.10, and Cody's best lap was a 31.11. Those guys are really close. So we'll see what it looks like when we get on track, but as far as practice times go, those guys are super, super close together. But a thing about Kansas, this is a multi-groove racetrack, and I don't know how many tracks we've seen that are multi-groove this year. I don't think we've raced too many. I'm trying to think of the races that we've had, but
Arguably Auto Club, but
Yeah,
yeah.
if you want to explain a little bit more what the multi-groove racing is like, and really, I guess for the people who don't follow racing or iRacing as much, what multi-groove racing is or what it means.
So multi-groove racing, to put it simply, it refers to the idea that multiple grooves on the track, that being either the bottom line right next to the white line on the inside, the top line right next to the wall, aka the Larson line for us NASCAR fans, or down the middle, kind of a nice middle groove there where you're getting some of the banking, but you're also right down there to the bottom. Logically, as maybe somebody who's newer to racing, it might seem logical, okay, you want to run the bottom line because it's the shortest way around the racetrack. You get to cut down that 1.5 mile distance into a little bit shorter. There is definitely that, but the lower down you go, the less banking you have to play with. And on a track here like Kansas, you have a fair amount of banking. So the idea that it's a multi-groove track suggests that it kind of evens itself out between the top line, where you can run right against the wall, use all that banking to your advantage, and gives you really good runs on the straightaway. But on the inside, thanks to kind of a traction compound iRacing artificially put down in the sim on the inside the line, you can stick the car closer to the inside the line than maybe you could in real life, or maybe you would naturally think you'd be able to with how the car washes up. So it just means that guys can run multiple different lines on the track almost as quickly as each other. I know that most of the drivers are probably going to say the top line's a little bit quicker, but it's definitely more risky. So passes are going to be easier. Guys aren't going to be forced into one line, and it's going to make tonight's racing so much more exciting. And I guarantee we'll see that very soon in tonight's proceedings, that kind of double line coming into play.
Yeah, I feel like there is going to be racing all over the track tonight. If I had to guess, I would guess that fast line is going to be the quickest one, but I bet we're going to see guys dive it down low, try and make those passes on the bottom. But let's go ahead and ride along with Nick Nickerson as he gets ready to start his first lap of qualifying and see what a lap here around Kansas looks like.
Man, I'd say we chose a great driver to go on board with here. An incredible first lap from Nick Nickerson there, a 31.302, but there we go. Cody Welch with a 31.295, doing his very best to counter back. Here comes Nick through corner number 4, and, well, he's getting there, certainly. I think it's going to be close, but with that first lap pace, I think he might get it. He does indeed, goes up by about 600ths of a second, actually 600ths exactly. Nick Nickerson, provisional pole for one of many times this season. Brett Guzik, hello, 31.16 for the 04 car. Only very recently got eliminated from the playoffs 2 weeks ago, officially at Talladega. But what a lap from Brett Guzik. Great timing here to start off this final playoff round. That is a statement pole right there.
Yeah, great lap from Brett Guzik. He's a driver who puts in a lot of practice, and it's really showing off that it's working here tonight. Ricky Hart Jr. still yet to take his lap, though, in the Materia Tattoo Toyota Supra, so let's see what he can do as he heads out onto the backstretch in the 64 Supra.
I think the really interesting part about Nick Nickerson's lap in particular there was how he was kind of running that mid groove that I was talking about there. Not one that I had mentioned in my little description there, but he was kind of running in the middle. Didn't really commit to the bottom, but didn't really commit to the wall. I'm guessing Brett Guzik probably went a little bit closer to the wall, took a little bit more of a risk. And Ricky Hart, there you go, you see on entry, look at how close he's getting to the wall, really letting the back end wash out there, kind of using that natural iRacing push off the outside wall back to the inside to carry more speed. It means you can be much quicker through the straightaways, and it just kind of gets you in a bit of a rhythm rather than just diving to the bottom every time. So Ricky Hart, if he can keep it up there on the wall, I'm really liking this lap for him. And again, he was my pick earlier just because of his ability. He's shown up 1.5 miles, but Brett Guzik has done the same thing. So we could see a very talented front row. If Ricky Hart can put it on the front row, let's see. Gonna go 7th on the first lap, but remember, pretty much every driver that's run so far has improved on their second lap. So keep an eye out for there for Brandon Jackson as well, just slot himself into the 4th spot. But this is Ricky Hart a little bit lower this second time. I don't think it's going to be quite as quick unless he can make some improvements here through 3 and 4. But definitely 8th, not a bad spot at all to start off in tonight's event. Still only row 4, but there you go. That's the risk you take. You see him on the outside on exit, getting into the wall, or on entry, I should say. Gets into the wall. You see the sparks there on the back end, and that just sucks all your speed away. He's going to come into an end, not even going to try to finish the lap. But here is Kevin Foster, who, well, he had a great performance there at the All-Star race last week, qualified right near the front. Now in a official points competition here to start off the final round of the season, wants to do whatever he can to put that number 8 car as far up in the field as possible.
Let's go ahead and look at our race info real quick. There you can see the layout of Kansas Speedway. It's the oval here in Kansas City, 1.53 miles, so just a little bit over a mile and a half, and it's 87-degree track temperature, 85-degree ambient temperature, 60% humidity on this clear night in Kansas. So only a couple drivers left out on track, as that is going to round out our qualifying for the night. Brett Guzik putting it on pole. Let's go ahead and bring up our grid. Like I said, Brett Guzik going to be the driver putting it on pole. Nick Nickerson going to start to his outside in the number 2 car, followed by Brandon Jackson. Cody Welch, Kevin Foster getting into your top 5. Then Thomas Fensler, the 17 car, in 6th position. To his inside is David Leakey in the 84, followed by Mark Allen Bivens, Ricky Hart Jr., and Davey Hendricks, the 21 car, in 10th position.
Well, if you all want to know how talented our playoff grid is going to be, the final 4 drivers in the championship, Benjamin Lacey, the final qualifier for the championship 4, qualifies as high as 11th. Beside him on row number 6 is going to be Jason Greenwell starting in 12th, and we got Michael Ramos in 13th. Trey Ellis will round off the top 14, then Kel Zook the top 15. Matt Crockett will start in 16th, Gary Wright in 17th, Steve Ulrich in 18th, Eddie Hagee in 19th, and Wesley Fuller will round off the top 20.
In 21st is going to be the 72 car of Mason Flagar, followed by Benny Hogan, Terry Condis, Alan Castle, Victor Weaver, Bill Harkins, Kim Janer, James R. Hartley, Tyler Rowland, and then Mitchell Sullivan in the 18 car to round out tonight's field. And that's one thing to note. We only have 30 cars out tonight. A lot of guys having to take provisionals, and even with as many provisionals as we've had, still a nice little field here for the Bandit Racing League. It ought to be a lot of fun here at Kansas for the EvanWallMedia.com 125, getting ready to get rolling here. Ready to watch the pace car roll off and have Brett Guzik and Nick Nickerson leading us to green.
Well, I don't know about you, Evan, but with everything this track has going forward, I mean, not only that it's a night race, I'm always a sucker for night races. I love the atmosphere. I love the vibe it creates for the drivers, but also a track with multi-groove racing means we're going to get to see plenty of passes tonight. We got a non-playoff driver starting in first. All of our playoff drivers are in the top 11. I'd say we're in for a pretty good start to the playoff, the final round of the playoffs, I should say. What about you?
Yeah, I would say so, and I bet Brett Guzik really wishes that he was still in the playoffs right now with a lap like that, sitting here on the pole, battling it out with Nick Nickerson and Cody Welch. I mean, Brandon Jackson as well. Guzik and Jackson, they both just barely missed the playoffs, and they're sitting 2nd and 4th right now after qualifying. So a little, just since this race is sponsored by Evan Wall Media, look at that paint scheme. If you want to get one like that, head over to evanwallmedia.com. That's where you can do it. But the pace car is off. We're getting ready to go green here. The 04 of Brett Guzik leading us to green at Kansas. Nick Nickerson to his outside. Brandon Jackson there on the bottom, and Cody Welch up on the top. Jackson's going to move low, make it 3 wide going into turn 1. Brandon Jackson on the bottom. Though for Brett Guzik stuck in the middle, Nick Nickerson on the outside, and Jackson's going to make the pass down low. Jackson to the lead on the back straightaway.
Yeah, Brandon Jackson, great move there into the very first turn. You can see that traction compound on the inside already working, that kind of grip patch there they provide these cars, but not quite as much grip there through the middle of the corner. Jackson's going to immediately lose the lead to Nickerson. 3 leaders on the first lap at tonight's event. Cody Welch now side by side with Jackson. Guzik already shuffled out to 4th, but Thomas Fensler rounds up the top 5. Great start for the 17 car.
Yeah, huge start for the 17 car, and he's working his way up there, as is the 99 car of Brandon Jackson. There you see he's battling with Cody Welch, the 85 car of Welch up there on the outside, and there you can see how that outside lane is just a little bit quicker than the inside, it seems, as Brandon Jackson's keep trying to make that inside work, but just seems to be losing ground up there to that top line.
Yeah, he's doing his very best here. It seems to kind of keep that momentum through the draft and the straightaways and use that to allow him to go for the underside move. But for a lot of drivers, this lower grip compound on the inside was just added in a very recent build of iRacing. So many drivers that know Kansas from the past may not know that kind of lower groove very well. Maybe Brandon Jackson just trying to test it out, see if he can test the waters and try to utilize it later for a move just like what he did on lap 1.
Yeah, this is definitely the time to do it. 3 laps down of 125, and you really want to learn as much as you can right here. Try and figure out what you can do for later. You definitely want to be figuring out what you can do now as opposed to getting through the race and then sending it in there and just hoping that it works.
Well, speaking of sending it in there, the biggest mover of the race in the top 10 so far, Mr. Ricky Hart, a guy who really needs to have a good race tonight. The 64 car just made the pass on Kevin Foster. That'll put him up to 6th from 9th there, just 4 laps ago. So a great start for Ricky, and again, he was my pick tonight just because, well, we saw it in his win at Atlanta, but also the rest of the year, he really knows what he's doing around these kind of middle-sized tracks like Kansas, where you got to wheel the car, but you also have those long straightaways to set up some moves.
Yeah, Ricky seems to be one of those guys that's good at the multi-groove racing and being all these different types of tracks. I feel like that should set him up well. Homestead, Miami, I believe that's a place where Ricky was good as well. If we're looking at, like, some of our races coming up, that's going to be where we're at next week. But then we have Road America, where Nick Nickerson is obviously going to be your favorite, but Road America is going to be a tough track for him. He's still going to have to fight. He's still going to have to battle, and he's going to especially have to battle with lap cars if he can catch them, which he probably will, being Nick Nickerson. But he has to get through there clean, and that's going to be a hard race. Then we have Richmond Raceway to round out our championship, and that's going to be a real fun one. The short track of Richmond, Virginia, and a long race there. It should be a long night in Virginia, and it'll be a fun race to cap off our season. So even though Nick Nickerson looks like he is our favorite to win the championship right now, it's definitely going to be a tough for him as we see the pass right here, the 99 car of Brandon Jackson falling back, and Brett Guzik getting that 3rd position. We have a battle for the lead as that's happening, though. Nickerson on the outside, Cody Welch up here to battle. He was on the inside of Nickerson, and now the 2 car has pulled away a little bit, but the 85 car battling for the lead.
Yeah, that is one interesting part of tracks like this, that where the outside line is so dominant, is if you make a little bit of a slip up going for an inside move, it can take all your momentum away. And we just saw that for Cody Welch right now, but we also almost saw it in this battle for 3rd. Guzik and Jackson went side by side. Guzik kind of moved up the racetrack a little bit. Jackson wasn't anticipating it. Kind of shuffles him out as a result, and Jackson, who already presumably has burned his tires up pretty decently, hugging that inside line, is only going to continue to kind of stay in a halted, kind of stagnant position there. But now Ricky Hart Jr. moving up into the top 5. There's the move down the inside of Thomas Fensler. So 5 drivers now. The entire top 5 were in the top 8 in the playoffs only 2 weeks ago. So plenty of big names here up front. But Thomas Fensler doing a great job for himself, even to continue and kind of stay in this relative vicinity. And now still in the draft there in Ricky Hart. So don't count out the 17 car in terms of moving forward and picking up a few more spots.
Yeah, a lot of movement here up in the top few, and even down back in 10th position, Jason Greenwell getting the pass on David Leakey to move up into 10th, up 2 positions from where he started. But our biggest mover of the night so far is going to be all the way back to Tyler Rowland. He's sitting in 19th position right now, and he started all the way back in 29th position. So up 10 positions from where he started as the 80 car, and he's looking to make the move on the 88 of Benny Hogan, who's right there to his inside. A little bit of a battle in front of him. It's Davey Hendricks and Eddie Hagge, who were side by side, now single filed out. There you see the 88 car of Benny Hogan looking to move to the inside of those guys.
Now here's a big battle for position. Here goes Ricky Hart down the bottom of Brandon Jackson. We saw Brandon was having his own struggles down there on the bottom, getting grip out of the corner, and I think we're going to see that again for Hart. Tried to send it, still side by side, but yeah, that run off the corner from the top lane, just too much. You build up too much speed there in that high line next to the wall, and Jackson is using it to great effect here, keeping himself in the 4th spot. But Hart there, he's not only got to worry about making this pass up to 4th, trying to outrun the other playoff drivers, but Thomas Fensler, again, still in the 17 car right behind those 2 drivers. So he is going to do whatever he can to try to throw a wrench in their plans. But just also important to note, Benjamin Lacey, another championship driver, started out as the final one in qualifying, down at 11th. He is already up to 7th, matching his car number. So top 7 made up of all your championship drivers and 3 guys who were very recently there, plus Thomas Fensler.
You know, a lot of movement here to the back as you can see this huge pack here all battles Davey Hendricks. He just dropped a couple spots. So did David Leakey. And you see just a lot of movement from this huge pack right here. Eddie Hagge, one of the guys that's really benefiting, as is Tyler Rowland, who is now up 13 positions from where he started in that 80 car. These guys really getting that outside lane to work. So you see Eddie Hagge diving to the inside, trying to get past the 27 of Michael Ramos. And it looks like they're going to go 3 wide here, the 72 car. Mason Flagar in the middle. Ramos on the top, Flagar in the middle on the bottom now, and Hagge decided that he was going to back out of that. Didn't like that 3 wide situation. I wouldn't have either. And he's just going to hang in behind Mason Flagar down there on the bottom line, see if he can get past him in a couple of laps.
Back up here to Brett Guzik, though, kind of sitting in a bit of a no man's land here. Well, that was until Brandon Jackson got a great run here through 3 and 4. The 99 car right on the back bumper once again. Looks like those presumably burnt up tires there from running that inside groove aren't going away too quickly, and Brandon seems to have figured his line out there since. He's looking real comfortable there on the top line. Starting to fall back is Ricky Hart. Remember, he was right on the back bumper of the 99 just a moment ago, but now Jackson making plenty of headway up towards these guys up front, and Cody Welch as well. One of your top 2 in the championship, starting to fall back from Nickerson, but keep an eye here. Down to the bottom goes Brandon Jackson. He's going to clear him by a full car length, but he's got to try the slide job there. Get back up to that high line. He does, but got to watch this run here from the 04 car. The caution has come out right as this battle comes to an end, so I think Jackson will be credited with that spot as we cross for lap 15, and our first caution of the night has come out.
Yeah, the crossover move, and Brandon Jackson seemed like he got just a little bit lucky right there, because it looked like Brett Guzik was going to come back and get the position, but Brandon's going to be credited with the 3rd place position as the caution flag flew, and lucky for him, he's going to be starting on the inside instead of the outside. But let's go ahead and take a look and see what happened to bring out this yellow. And Mason Flagar, one of the drivers involved in that 72 car. The 97 of Eddie Hagge, he was up there on the top, and Flagar just all of a sudden, I don't know if he had issues or something, and pulls down to the bottom. Not sure at all what happened there, but pulling down to the bottom for Flagar, and that's going to bring out your yellow.
Yeah, I'm going to assume either he had some predicament. He did just lead manually. He disconnected on his own power, so it couldn't have been an internet thing. So hopefully all good on his end. But yeah, that did bring out the caution. And in turn, if you want proof of how crucial tires are going to be, or at least how crucial the drivers perceive them, every driver in the top, well, I can't even count how many, has come into the pits. And we're only on lap 16, so we must have been burning those tires up quite a bit, even for those guys running on the high line. Got to watch this battle off pit road here. Looks like Nickerson is going to win. Jackson made up a little bit of ground, but Welch still comes out second. Jackson after that, I believe Guzik in 4th. So for the most part, our top 5 order is going to remain the same. And yeah, it looks like it is going to be exactly identical, save for the 5 drivers that did not come into the pits.
Yeah, tires are going to be very important here tonight. Obviously, with these guys pitting on lap 16, but I believe they should have 3 sets in the pits, if I'm not mistaken, making 4 sets total. Either 2 or 3 sets in the pits. Can't exactly remember, but I believe that it's 3. So that shows you right there, like you said, how important these tires are going to be and how important it is to keep the tires under you. Right now, Benny Hogan is being scored as your leader. The CNR Machining, number 88, Toyota Supra. Out front, Bill Harkins sitting in 2nd. In the number 11 Camaro, then Terry Condis, Alan Castle, and James Hartley, the 32, 93, and 98, all did not pit. So your top 5 drivers did not pit that time. Nick Nickerson, Cody Welch, Brandon Jackson, all 3 going to be scored in 6th, 7th, and 8th position. Getting ready for this restart. As we're double filing up here. And these guys are not pitting. This is going to be an interesting restart. We've seen it happen before. Trouble with guys on older tires up at the front. These top 5 guys, they're going to be a whole lot slower than the rest of the field, assuming that everyone else took tires. But now, you know what? Now that I'm looking at the time, I really don't believe that they did take tires. Nick Nickerson only in for 6 seconds, as was Jackson Welch. Ricky Hart Jr., you have to go back a while before you get to someone who was in for long enough that I believe they could have taken tires. Trey Ellis and Thomas Finsler in 15th and 16th position, pitted for 15 seconds. So the more I think about it, I feel like all these guys are going to be on the same Same length tires as here. You see Benny Hogan deciding to take the outside lane for the restart. Outside lane, obviously the preferred lane tonight. But yeah, so just scratch that storyline as 88 car is going to be taking off. And he has a big jump. Bill Harkins down to the inside. I don't know if he possibly missed a shift or something. But down to the inside for Bill Harkins and falling back quickly. Still an interesting restart. Nevertheless, as Benny Hogan is going to be out front, he's going to be out front by a mile. You have to go a good ways back before you can find Nick Nickerson, who's battling with Brandon Jackson right on his rear bumper and looking to the inside.
Yeah, this worked out perfectly for Benny Hogan. Bill Harkins, I think there would have been some contact involved, but Brandon Jackson straight to the bottom again. Can he go for the slide job once again? We saw it work on Guzik a moment ago, but the question is, can Nickerson use that additional speed he's going to have off the exit? Jackson tried to throw the block on him, but Nickerson was having none of that. Right down to the bottom, down to the inside, makes it work, and gets him back in the tri-oval. But we're going to see a lot of that tonight, that swap over there. When you make the crossover move, you definitely give up the speed on the exit to the driver behind, and Nickerson was, well, he knew exactly what to do with all that additional momentum comparatively to the 99 car. But here is Cody Welch right behind Kevin Foster. Must have been a swap over in the pits. I thought Foster had pitted, so maybe just some good momentum to start off the stint for the number 8 car. But here is Benjamin Lacey, a fellow playoff driver. He finds himself in, well, plenty of traffic. Look at the guys to his outside. Up front, that is Trey Ellis up ahead in the number 4 car. So he's got plenty of guys to worry about right now, including Alan Castle, who I don't believe pitted that last time by. So luckily, as you mentioned, yeah, I think it was a good inference there, Evan, as we see Thomas Fensler, great speed there from the bottom line, making the move. He's back up to 9th, having a good night for himself. But yeah, presumably can have taken tires with how quick those stops were, so everybody should be on an even playing field. Benny Hogan now, the guys are starting to track him down there up front, but side by side, still for second. Going to be an additional attempt here. This time, Nickerson is on the top rather than the bottom here as we come through the tri-oval. So Brandon Jackson is able to kind of defend that bottom line, doesn't let him use the inside groove. And keep an eye here on Ricky Hart as we go side by side. Ricky Hart's in the top line. He's going to have the good run with Nickerson. Jackson should clear this time. He does, but again, keep an eye down the backstretch. Nickerson's going to have plenty more momentum, plus the draft. And Ricky Hart might look to the inside first, going to box in the 2 car. Might try to make it 2 in a row in corner number 3.
Yeah, these guys having a lot of fun here at Kansas. See Ricky Hart Jr. kind of block Nick Nickerson from taking that bottom line and had to waste that momentum that he pulled up as the 64 car dove down to the inside lane so that the 2 car of Nick Nickerson couldn't. He tried to make that pass, obviously not able to make it work, but look at the 4 car of Trey Ellis, a huge send down there to the inside, and Cody Welch, the 85, going to be up into the wall in the back.
That was a nuts pass from Trey Ellis. That looked like it should have Benny Hill music playing over it. He was just flying. Look at the 4 car. He is just flying by everybody. Keep in mind, didn't take tires presumably, unless he did for a strategy call, but man, Trey Ellis is either showing us his abilities here, or he's showing how crucial those tires can be. Presumably going to look to the inside here on Jackson. With this strategy, he just wants to pull away, get as many guys as possible. There he goes. So the 4 car of Trey Ellis should lead a lap and is now leading tonight's event. Great moves there by the 4 car.
Yeah, Trey Ellis is going to be showing us how important those tires are. He pitted the same time as everybody else, but he had a 15-second stop instead of a 6. So definitely new tires on that 4 car, and that really shows you how important they are. Now, I don't know whether he did it as a strategy call or whether he just accidentally had that tire box checked, accidentally took some tires. Who knows what the case is, but nevertheless, he's out front, leading laps, and he's trying to get as big of a jump as he can on these guys while he can, but 3 wide right now. The 17 car, Thomas Fensler, was there in the middle of the 99, and Brandon Jackson up on the outside, and the 23 of Victor Weaver now fallen back a little bit, but still sitting in 3rd position. Victor Weaver with new tires on as well. So the top 3 drivers, Trey Ellis, Thomas Fensler, and Victor Weaver, should all have new tires sitting in 1st, 2nd, and 3rd if Victor Weaver can get past Brandon Jackson right here.
Yeah, I think if I'm Brandon Jackson, these guys on newer tires that are kind of on a different strategy, you know they're not going to be playing the same game you are there. I think if I'm him, prioritize keeping your speed up, prioritize keeping Nick Nickerson as far back as you can. Just kind of let these guys do their own thing. He doesn't get anything out of battling them, and he certainly doesn't get anything out of losing a spot to the 2 cars. So I think Jackson just kind of got to buckle down here, let them go by, try to use the slipstream, but he's not. He's really trying to race them, go for the bottom line there. And I think in turn it's going to give the 2 car the momentum he needs to make up some ground, but Thomas Fensler considerably off the pace. Look at Cody Welch there up top. Plenty of speed there in the 85 car. Now the 7 car will go underneath Thomas Fensler. Don't know what's happening to him, maybe some wall contact or something like that, but that momentum that was positive all race to this point is starting to go backwards.
Yeah, and you saw the big move there from Cody Welch. Here's another big move from the 80 car of Tyler Rowland, jumping down to the inside, the 80 getting by the 8 of Kevin Foster. Tyler Rowland, still your biggest mover of the race, in 6th position, up 23 spots from where he started, and that's tied with Victor Weaver, who's in 2nd position, also up 23 spots from where he started. So big movers from those guys. Obviously, Victor Weaver has the newer tires, so... well, as does Tyler Rowland. So both of those guys, they're up a lot from where they started, but we'll see if they can hang on once some of these other drivers get some new tires put on.
Well, that is the interesting thing. Fuel kind of comes into play there when you're calculating fuel strategy, well, strategy in general, because if we only need 2 more fuel stops, don't want to jinx it or anything, because, well, we both have a habit of doing that, but if we go green to the end of the race and we only need 2 fuel stops, nobody's going to want to make that stop for just tires, no fuel. So if this works for them, they're able to keep these tires up, and nobody uses that 3rd set besides these guys up front. This strategy could pay off long term, but right now it's going to make things extra interesting. Ricky Hardy's trying to keep up with Nick Nickerson here. Now he's got Tyler Rowland, who, as he just mentioned, up 23 spots. Now he's going to be 24 up into the top 5. Tyler Rowland, we've seen him be really good this year at the mile and a half. Remember, particularly Charlotte comes to mind, but he's missed last couple races, including the All-Star race last week, so good to see him back, and he is picking up right where he left off. But side by side between Fenzler and the 35 of...
it's going to be Wesley Fuller in that 35 car sitting there in 10th position. Wesley Fuller's a guy who really likes Kansas. He was originally going to sponsor the race here at Kansas tonight, and that's really the only reason that it was put on the schedule. We haven't seen the 35 car on track all season. I believe he was only here for 1 race at the beginning of the season. Otherwise, we haven't seen him on track all season. But yeah, so he dropped out of sponsoring Kansas, and that's why it's the evanwallmedia.com 125 instead of whatever the 35 of Wesley Fuller wanted to have it. But he is here with us tonight and running in 10th position, up 10 positions from where he started in his 35 Mustang.
If you ask me, it's a great track, whether he sponsored it or not. I think it's a great pick and a great way to start off the round. But keep an eye here on Benjamin Lacey. This is the battle between himself and Cody Welch, 2 guys that presumably didn't take tires. And these are 2 guys on, well, pretty opposite ends of the spectrum there in terms of points. Welch only 4 points out at the top. Lacey 30 points out, which again isn't a huge margin, but certainly one where he wants to pick up as many as possible tonight. And keep in mind for these guys in the championship, they're not just trying to race each other as we see Benjamin Lacey down to the bottom. And I guess right now that is exactly what we're doing. Down to the bottom, doesn't seem to get a good run there, does Cody Welch. So I think the 7 car, if he can get the crossover here, can get the kind of slingshot here to the bottom off turn 4, might be okay. Cody Welch is going to have a lot of momentum going. Still side by side, he's going to be able to use that bottom apron as the 7 car down into turn number 1. Should give him enough track position that he should be able to try to the slide job. He's using that bottom traction compound, but again, he's going to wash up. This is still going, the 85 car. I think this might be the chance where he's able to clear him. He's going to get so much more of a run off of turn number 2, still side by side, until one of these guys clears each other. This is going to keep going. Keep an eye there. I think that was Alan Castle there on the inside. Both guys having to avoid him, and I think that'll give Cody Welch just the run he needs off the top line to take over that spot. But very quickly, what I was about to say was, keep in mind, these guys for the championship aren't just racing each other like they are in the NASCAR final. These are guys racing each other and the other drivers on track. You're trying to take away points, not just spots from other guys. So some drivers that aren't in the playoffs that may seem superfluous to us watching at home for these playoff drivers are very crucial. And speaking of which, Tyler Rowland going to take another spot on Nick Nickerson. He's up into the top 4, and Nickerson loses a valuable championship point early on in tonight's event.
Yeah, and that is what is different about this. They reset the points when they come in, or when the playoffs start in round 1, but after that there are no resets. It's from then to the end of the season before they reset points, and that's where Nick Nickerson is obviously your leader right now. Ricky Hart Jr., he's directly behind him in the race, but I believe Ricky is 20 points back from Nickerson in the point standing, so he has a little bit to make up, but he can definitely do it, especially if he has a good run here tonight and at some of the other tracks. But sitting in 6th position right now, he's got to catch that 2 of Nick Nickerson first right in front of him.
I think the tires for Victor Weaver in particular, one of those guys up front that have just pitted, are starting to wear off. Brandon Jackson, one of the non-tire pitters, is starting to catch up. Benjamin Lacey in the outside wall there through turns 1 and 2, trying to keep up with Cody Welch. definitely getting some great runs there on the top line. I think Benjamin now trying to readjust to that top line. Got into the wall, but he's still got enough momentum there in the draft to get by, or at least get to the bottom here into turn number 3. Again, we've seen this a couple times, but Welch now into the top of the wall. Guys, as the tires fall off, having trouble keeping it off that top line. And as a result, back to the top 10 goes Benjamin Lacey, and right behind Cody Welch doing whatever he can to keep that car on track, as many guys seem to be having trouble with.
And here you see the battle side by side. The 04 Brett Guzik down there on the bottom. The 64 car Ricky Hart Jr. up on the top. Ricky Hart Jr. going to come away with the position there. You can see the top side just a little bit stronger. And Ricky Hart Jr. going to hold the 6th position off from Brett Guzik back in seventh. I'm sorry, not second. Up front, and who is second, is Victor Weaver in the 23 car. And Trey Ellis still out front. A nice little lead on the field. 5 seconds ahead of second place, Trey Ellis is.
Yeah, I think it really does speak to his actual pace here. Not just tire strategy, but the guys that also took tires, like Victor Weaver, like Tyler Rowland, I think are starting to fall off from their lap times. You can definitely see it with how quickly guys like Brandon Jackson and Ricky Hart are starting to catch up. Ricky to the inside of Brett Guzik. This is the battle for 6th. A non-playoff driver as of 2 weeks ago, and Ricky Hart going side by side. Brett doing whatever he can from that top line. He was tonight's qualifying, top spot. He was tonight's pole sitter for a reason, and he shows it there. A little bit of a tap at the outside wall in the entry to 1, but he will hold that spot off from Ricky Hart. So Ricky doing whatever he can. Feels like he's made plenty of attempted moves, but has had trouble making a few of them stick, because we've seen with a couple of drivers tonight from that bottom line.
Here's a move for the 23 car of Victor Weaver. He's getting by the 84 David Leakey. Leakey 1 lap down now in 23rd position. And now you see the battle between the 23 car of Victor Weaver and the 80 of Tyler Rowland. Rowland up there on the inside. The 23 car of Victor Weaver diving down to the inside. The 80 of Rowland up on the outside. And Rowland is going to be able to retain the position of second place. But there you look, all this racing. Brandon Jackson in the 4th position is catching up to him. And all these guys, the top 4 right now, not playoff drivers. And 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, Ellis, Rowland, and Weaver. They all pitted on lap 15, got new tires. Brandon Jackson, here in the 4th position, is going to be your first driver who has not changed tires since the beginning of the race. Sitting there in 4th position, Brandon Jackson. Nick Nickerson behind him has also not changed tires, as has Brett Guzik, Ricky Hart Jr., and Kevin Foster.
And this is crucial for Brandon Jackson. He wants to get by these cars that are going to start moving backwards, like Rowland and Weaver and Ellis, as quickly as he can, in the case that we don't get a caution in the near future. Because for every lap he stays behind them, Nick gets closer and closer. In all series, all season, we've seen the 2 cars' ability to make passes in lap traffic, as he often has to do from the lead. This time he's doing it from 5th.
Yeah, let's take a look at this little battle right here. Wesley Fuller on the inside, the 84 car. The lap car of David Leakey up there on the outside as Wesley Fuller moves into 9th position. Again, Wesley Fuller, one of those drivers that does have tires in the caution, is going to be out again. Yellow flag. Out on the racetrack here at Kansas, lap 41 of 125. Not exactly sure what happened there. But we'll see if we can figure it out. Trey Ellis going to be the driver at the front of the field. Tyler Rowland in 2nd, and Brandon Jackson moving his way up into 3rd position.
Yeah, I think this should be the pit stop where those guys that held off on tires in the first stop will more than likely take them this time. Try to split the race into an even 3 as we get to the 1/3 of the way through the race point here, and you got 3 sets of new tires, we presume. So yeah, I think this would be the opportunity for those guys to take them. Might be the stop where those guys like Trey Ellis and Rowland and Weaver, who took them early, may have to sustain, and that may be where they have some troubles in keeping up with the pack. But here comes Trey Ellis. Whether for tires or not, he's going to at least come in for fuel, as well as pretty much every driver behind him. Again, the first driver I'm seeing on track that did not make the drive down pit road is David Leakey, so might be tonight's provisional, 4th leader, provided these guys do not take too long. And Trey Ellis now heading into his box. Again, he was at the lead of the line. The question is, with tires versus no tires, of course, as we mentioned earlier, you can see it in the stop times to the point where the battle on pit road might switch up if various drivers are pitting versus aren't pitting for tires. So Trey Ellis, keep an eye on him. Who is going to win the battle off pit road? It looks like a car that was not in that lead pack here. Keeping an eye here as guys head out. Looking, I think, first out is Tyler Rowland, actually. That's quite a surprise there. A few other cars as well, so I may have missed some of the main leaders coming out of the pits, but yeah, again, just such a mix-up of different drivers and different, strategy situations heading out at the same time. Jackson is off behind Nickerson, so Nickerson makes the move on Jackson. I think Ellis is ahead of both of them. Yeah, so it's Ellis, Nickerson, Jackson, Guzik, Hart, and then Kevin Foster. It looks like beat all of them. So Kevin Foster in the 8 car going to hold off on tires this time, and in turn is going to get himself a bucket full of spots up there up front.
Up front right now, though, is the 82 car of Kim Janer. Now, we'll see if he comes down this time, as it looks like he's going to. Leading under caution there, but yeah, coming down now. And it's going to be Tyler Rowland that is out front. But real quick, Marshall, did you see what that caution was for?
No, I was actually just going to mention, I was looking through the field. It's kind of like the Flagar thing. I didn't actually see a wreck. I yeah, a few cars off the pace, but I would just presume that was as a result of quickly slowing down for the caution. So I'll keep an eye out here as we head through the final couple laps of this caution, and I'll see if I can report back on what I find.
Sounds good. Maybe we can do some investigating, see if we can figure out what it was, but it looks like Tyler Rowland is going to be the driver leading us to green here after our second caution of the night. Victor Weaver showing in second position. Then we have Kevin Foster in third. Now, all those guys had a pit time of 8 seconds. So if I had to guess, 8 seconds is about long enough to change 2 tires, not long enough to change 4. So I would have to assume that the 80 of Tyler Rowland, the 23 of Victor Weaver, and the 8 of Kevin Foster changed 2 tires. They may have not changed any. I'm not sure, but usually these guys, when we don't change any tires, are a little bit slower than that, around the 6-second mark. So I would have to assume the 80 of Tyler Rowland, the 23 of Victor Weaver, and the 8 of Kevin Foster all took 2 tires. Behind them, Trey Ellis and back took 4 tires, and that'll be Trey Ellis, Nick Nickerson, Brandon Jackson, Brett Guzik, Ricky Hart Jr., Benjamin Lacey, and Wesley Fuller to round out your top 10. And Cody Welch, fan favorite, all the way back in 17th position and second in the point standings right now. He's back in 17th position. He had a long pit stop, a 37-second pit stop, so I'm not sure what happened there. But a 37-second pit stop for Cody Welch is going to put the 85 car all the way back to 17th position on this restart on lap 45 of 125 as we're getting single filed up and ready to go back racing here at Kansas. Lights are off on the pace car as we're on the back straightaway.
So after doing a little bit of sleuthing as Marshall Crocker, private detective, it looks like right before the start of lap number 41, Kim Janer in the 82 car, the driver that was leading the field after the initial set of pit stops, just got a little bit loose, tapped the outside wall coming out of turn number 4 as he came through the tri-oval. So we're not going to quite have time until we have to go back to green, but Kim Janer didn't take too much damage, possibly used a quick repair there in the pits if he had one left. Would have been enough cosmetic damage that probably would have had an effect on handling, but he is going to remain in the race by the looks of it, so that was all that brought it out. No other drivers involved. But that being said, we got 2 drivers on old tires up here up front. That can always create some chaos, but green flag for the 3rd time in tonight's race. The second on a caution, Victor Weaver in the 23 car does not get going, but the 80 car does. Second time in a row that one of these guys on old tires was able to get a good run, and Nick Nickerson, the main beneficiary of that, along with good friend and paint scheme share, Mr. Kevin Foster in the 8 car.
Yeah, Kevin Foster and Nick Nickerson were going to be side by side there for a second. Nick Nickerson going to come away with the position for second, but Tyler Rowland, the driver that's out front, and he's going to look to drive away with the field. We'll see if he can do it, but a little bit of switching and a tight move there for the 99 car of Brandon Jackson. He's going to head to the middle and the outside, getting past the 4 car of Trey Ellis, and a huge move there to solidify his position into 3rd place. Back behind him, there's another battle brewing. No, the 04 of Brett Guzik right now sits in 4th. After that, and side by side, and falling back now, the 8 car, Kevin Foster. Maybe those older tires, assuming he took 2 tires, may not have been the smartest decision, as there you see the 7 car, Benjamin Lacey, back behind him in 10th and looking to move his way up. He'll be in 9th now after that pass in the middle on the 8 car of Kevin Foster. Trey Ellis, some hard racing, though, in the 64 car. Ricky Hart Jr. is going to look to his outside, see if he can get up there. Trey Ellis sits in 5th. Ricky Hart Jr. is going to be back behind him in 6th. And they're going to be side by side as they come out of this corner with the 64 car on top.
Up front, the blink of an eye, Tyler Rowland's old tires there are sending him backwards. We're still side by side here with Hart and Ellis, but they're going to have some trouble if they got to get by the 80 car. He on those old tires is having trouble keeping the pace up through the corners. Keep an eye there on the 27 of Michael Ramos. Haven't talked about him much tonight. This might be a great opportunity for him. Gets Hart, gets Rowland, and he is in the slipstream on Ellis. Keep an eye, though, on Davey Hendricks. The last point-scoring race we did in this series was won by the 21 car at Talladega 2 weeks ago. Rowland's in the wall there on the outside of the line. Those old tires can't even keep it off the wall, it would seem. Those can just be brutal late in these runs here at a track as tough as Kansas on tires. So he is going to do whatever he can to lock it down, try to keep it on track. But Ramos gets Ellis as well. Plenty of switch arounds here in this kind of 4 to 8 spot in the overall race order. But up front, Nickerson and Jackson get out ahead. Guzik not too far back of Jackson, so the top three back to being drivers we were expecting early in the race. But now we're 3 wide through the tri-oval. Hart to the bottom, almost makes contact with the inside of Ellis. Davey Hendricks up top takes advantage. He's going to be in the more ideal line here out of the exit to 2. And there is the run. Keep an eye here on the 21 car. If he can get it to the bottom side, as he does, going to make the move into 3. The question is, can he get it to stick from the inside of the line? Doesn't clear the 64 car, and there is the run. Ricky Hart, I think he just took tires there that last time by, and they are coming in handy. Ricky looks real comfortable up there on the top line, and he takes the 5th spot back.
Let's take a look at fan favorite 85 car Cody Welch. He's worked himself all the way back up to 7th position, working his way back through the field with a now damage-free race car for the 85 of Welch. Working his way back up there. He's past the 7 car of Benjamin Lacey, who is right behind him now. And he's going to be working on Davey Hendricks in the 21 right up in front of him.
And that'll be easier said than done, as I just talked about. I mean, Davey Hendricks, defending race winner. He's been so great since he joined the series. He may not be a playoff driver, but he has proved in the last couple of weeks that he does not care about that when it comes to racing these guys battling for the title. And neither apparently does Michael Ramos there. Is having a great race so far, at least this particular stint. Unless he's run 2 sets of new tires, he is, well, really, he's battling legitimately for position here. There's nothing to suggest that he won't continue to do so. And he is right behind Brett Guzik here, trying to move up into the top 3. These playoff drivers, as well as Jackson and Guzik, they've had plenty of different faces to worry about here all race. And now Guzik, the question is, you got to balance it out, as you always do with different strategies. Do you want to let the guy behind by in favor of keeping up with the guys ahead? Or do you want to battle him, try to hold down your spot, and maintain your spot in the top 3 if you're Brett Guzik? But Ricky Hart, maybe on the other side of that coin, he got a much better run that time on Ramos, and he is keeping an eye on the back of that number 27 car.
Yeah, off the nose of the 64 car of Ricky Hart Jr. right now. You can see a little bit of a damage maybe for the 27 of Ramos up there in front. But Ricky Hart Jr., he has 10 top 5s on the season. He won in Atlanta, and that's why he's still in the playoffs, and he's looking to stay in the playoffs, or stay high in the playoffs at least. Guess he can't drop out anymore now that we're in the round of 4, but working that inside lane and gaining on that 27 car of Ramos up in front of him. But there you can see how in front of him is really single file all the way up there to Nick Nickerson, Brandon Jackson, Brett Guzik, and then Ramos, all single file and all using that top line.
Single file, but surprisingly close together, as you see Hart going to peek to the inside of the 27 car. You notice a little bit of cosmetic damage on the back right fender there of the number 27, so possible a little bit of arrow drop off there. But we're side by side into 1. Again, that inside line, so tough to make the move work if you can't clear onto the entry, and this time he can't. He's still side by side on exit. The 27 car will get the better run, and Davey Hendricks is going to close the door as well. No more top line for the 64 car. Davey Hendricks might go 2 for 2 here through corners number 3 and 4. He's looking like he's got more forward momentum right now than Ramos does. Might make it 2 in a row, and again, he's not going to let the 64 clear. The 21 still on the top side. It looks like Ramos going to drop down to cover off Hart. That'll take away the run from Davey Hendricks. I really like that move defensively from the 27. And again, you just talked about there, Evan, but we're all kind of single filing out. Guys are figuring out that these tires just cannot sustain the inside line anymore. But also, nobody's really breaking away. Once you get into a single file line, the slipstream becomes even more crucial. And there goes Davey Hendricks again. Once again on the ideal top line. Michael Ramos kind of got shuffled out there from that top line, dropped down to the bottom, and he left the door open hard. Ricky Hart, though, keep an eye on these two guys. If you get side by side, you got to whoa up. And that may be the advantage that the 64 car needs to get back into the top 5.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I heard these guys talking about pre-race. They were talking about tires and how it wasn't going to be very fun once you got about 15 laps under your belt here and how quickly the tires go away. But Nick Nickerson, handling it well, sitting up front right now, and a good ways up front. Not too far, but he has a nice little gap back to Brandon Jackson, even though he is closing, but then a nice little gap to Brett Guzik, then Davey Hendricks and Ricky Hart Jr. that you saw that battle that we were just looking at. Cody Welch, like I see in the comments, Cody's fast. He definitely is, sitting in the 7th position right now. He's in front of Benjamin Lacey still, and still trying to gain on Michael Ramos and Ricky Hart Jr., who are directly in front of him, but a good run from the 85 car, gaining all those spots on that restart. Matt Crockett now able to make the pass on Jason Greenwell in the 83 car. Crockett to the inside, and that 10 car is going to move up to 11th position if he can get up top, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to. There's going to be a little bit of battle brewing here. Jason Greenwell up on the outside, and the 10 car of Matt Crockett down there on the inside. This is the battle for 11th position again, and side by side as they go into the corner here.
Yeah, we're seeing great battles all throughout the field, and again, the question is who is on newer tires, who is on older, and really as a driver, you almost don't know either, but it looks like Matt Crockett, for the most part, was able to keep semi-competitive there on the bottom line. But here it goes, Brandon Jackson, he has made up the ground he's needed to get in the slipstream right behind the 2 car. Isn't even pulling out a line. Looks like he's going to give him the push there onto the entry of turn 1. I thought for a split second that was going to get more aggressive. Thought he might spit him there into turn number 1, but that doesn't seem very characteristic of Brandon. Certainly not this early in the race, especially not as a non-playoff driver. So that was kind of his chance. Didn't pull out a line to make the move because he knew he needed the top line this late in the tire stint, and as a result, falls back by about 3.5 tenths.
You see Brandon and Nick up there on screen, and the smile from Nick Nickerson. Those guys just having a little bit of fun there up at the front as they have a little bit of a lead on Guzik, Hendricks, and Hart, who are behind them. If we go back to Cody Welch.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm just about to talk about Cody Welch here in this battle with both Lacey and trying to keep an eye on behind him. Is that Trey Ellis? It is not. It appears to be a lap car that is not in traffic. That's the, I believe, 92 of Alan Castle. Maybe 93, I don't remember, but we got the 7 and the 85 car, 2 playoff drivers that, again, kind of in different areas of the point spectrum here, but if you're Lacey, this is a crucial position to keep. So he is probably going to be in that camp of guys that, instead of looking up front, trying to keep pace with guys like Ramos, is going to focus on keeping Welch behind him. Welch in the wall, the 85 car, becomes yet another casualty of that top line. Guys that are trying to run the high line, but just get the tiniest bit too high and take a little piece of the wall. And I was just about to say, in reference to the chat, he is definitely quick. He's been quick everywhere this season. But from a points perspective, I don't mind this race so far from Welch. I mean, Nickerson being up front, you can't control that. He's his main playoff rival, and he's having a great race so far. But from his perspective, I think just pick up the points, stay in the top 10, and see what you can do next week at Homestead. But right now up front, Brandon, much more successful this second time by, does make the move into 1. And I think Nick might wax off a little bit, as fun as they seem to be having on Skype there. I don't know if I want to be taking this many risks if I'm the 2 car, just the same way that Welch maybe needs to settle for just a good points day, at least this early in the race. Maybe Nick needs to do the same, or maybe he doesn't have a choice, because Brandon is looking real quick there off the exit to both corners number 2 and corner number 4.
Yeah, there you see how close those guys are, and obviously how quick they are, and the focus from Nick Nickerson and Brandon Jackson as they're out front here at Kansas. 64 laps down of 125. And Brandon Jackson, having just been knocked out of the playoffs, is going to be your leader here in the number 99 car.
Whoa, Brett Guzik there and behind, a big shunt off the outside of turn number 4. Guys are just taking some heavy hits here off the top line. You'll probably see sparks in every other camera angle we cut to, just because guys really pushing to the outside line as hard as they can, because you don't really have a choice. You got to make the corner, and you got to keep up your momentum, and occasionally that's going to equal something a little bit less ideal than, well, if he could run a perfect lap like we did in qualifying. But Davey Hendricks, keep an eye on him as well. We saw him, I think, as far as about 5 seconds back of the leader at one point in this stint. He has since made up all that time, and we know there's precedent for it. So as we see Guzik battle with Hogan, almost making contact up front, this may be the opportunity Hendrick needs. And Benny Hogan, presumably on new tires, battling with the 04 car and straight to the bottom line. So this is where it does get interesting. With tires being so important, the lap traffic might even be quicker in many situations here at Kansas, and those situations are going to lead to more passes and battles than we'd have between lap traffic and non-lap traffic at any other race. which just makes the job of these guys up front tougher. Because keep an eye on this battle between Jackson and Nickerson. It's about to be interrupted by the 88 car.
Yeah, Hogan there in the 88 car, he came to pit on lap 57, and he took 4 new tires. So 10 laps ago, he took 4 new tires, whereas all these other guys, they didn't pit all the way back to lap 42. So much fresher tires for the 88 car, and there you can see he can just drive by your 2 current leaders and 2 of the fastest guys of the race, that 88 car of Hogan. Just going to leave him in the dust here on the different tire strategy and able to get his lap back all by himself.
Well, just kind of as a playoff driver watch, still all of our playoff drivers here in the top 8. Welch and Lacey, in theory, close together in terms of position on track, but they're about a second apart each. So, I mean, Welch is going to need to make up a little bit of ground. And the question is here, if he does have cosmetic damages, again, we see him kind of washing up into that top wall. If he's taken enough that he feels in any way his steering is harmed, whether it be a green or a yellow, might even be worth taking the risk there on the quick repair. I know it may kind of put him at the whim of the race overall if he gets in a wreck at any point, maybe with a lap car, and then doesn't have the quick repair there to use at the end. That could be horrible for points. But if he's going to battle for the win and he has any damage at all, might want to think about replacing it.
Yeah, just as you say that, Cody Welch going to be coming into the pits. He's going to be the first driver down for your green flag pit stops, dropping all the way down to 14th position right now. But where I was before, let's look at this battle on track with Matt Crockett and Jason Greenwell. This is the battle for 12th position. That's where Jason Greenwell is right now, and Matt Crockett trying to get there in the 10 car. They were side by side. Greenwell going to be able to get the position on the top side, but now Matt Crockett going to go up to the top side. We'll see if that 83 of Greenwell is possibly coming down to the pits this time. Maybe that's why he went down low, or maybe not. Yeah, I believe he's going to. That 83 of Greenwell slowing down. Matt Crockett going to get the position there up to 11th for Crockett as Cale Zook, Greenwell, Kim Jander all coming into the pits this time.
And this is going to be crucial because these green flag pit stop cycles can really separate the good from the great. Some guys, like we've seen Nick Nickerson be all year, are just incredible at on and off pit road. Now we see Jackson heading down, kind of a late entry from whoever drove down in front of him. Jackson locks up on entry. I wonder if he may accrue a speeding penalty. Maybe keep an eye on his Scud camera in the background to see his reaction. That's probably the best way to tell. But yeah, had a really big lockup there into the entry. I'm going to assume he was very close, if not a little bit over. It looks fine right now. Doesn't look too frustrated. So I'm going to say hopefully made it above. You never want to see a top driver head out as a result of the black flag. But that puts Nick Nickerson back in the provisional lead as we wait for the 99 car's pit stop to end. I got to think, yeah, Nick is heading down this time by. Going to be heading in just as Jackson heads out. So keep an eye there on the 2 car. Doesn't seem to have, no lockup at all. So the 2 car again, I just talked about, it seems clinical on these pit road on and offs. And that could make up the valuable time he needs to pull the overcut there on the 99 car of Jackson and put himself back up into a very crucial top spot. But there is Brett Guzik, does not pit once again, is going to go long compared to these other guys, and now has a commanding lead up front.
Yeah, Brett Guzik with the lead. Nick Nickerson in the pits, but still your leader still your second place driver at the moment. Brandon Jackson going to be down in 9th position. Currently, Guzik, Hendricks, Nickerson, Hart, Ellis, Lacey, Foster, Crockett, all in the pits.
Yeah, no, we see Davey Hendricks there in the 21 car. I believe that is on pit exit. He is just exiting as we speak. There's David Leakey in the background and behind. So, yeah, the 21 car kind of on a different strategy than the rest of these guys. Not quite running in the same postal code right now as the leaders, but he has exited in second, so not a bad stop at all. As either took less tires or less fuel, because that is a great run. Now making the move there on both guys there that were battling for the lead, Jackson and Nickerson. Speaking of which, Jackson, I was just talking about how good Nick Nickerson is on those pit stops, but man, Jackson about a full second ahead there now of his race rival there in the number 2 car. So Jackson definitely figuring it out there for himself, and now he's got to worry about Davey Hendricks, who's real high to the wall there. Davey Hendricks can have taken tires. Must have been an early race strategy to try to make up spots because Jackson is flying by. Action Jackson on the inside, back up to the front. And now he just hopes that the 21 car can try to hold off Nickerson for just a moment to give him some breathing room.
Yeah, look at the pit stop time. Brandon Jackson, Nick Nickerson, Welch, Ricky Hart Jr., Benjamin Lacey, all above 14 seconds. Benjamin Lacey with a 19-second stop, so obviously a little bit of damage for him, but Davey Hendricks with only an 8-second stop, so I would assume that would be 2 tires along with Mitchell, Liam Sullivan, Cale Zook, Matt Crockett, Mark Allen Bivens. So either a 2-tire stop or possibly no tires and a little bit of damage repair, something like that. But that's what it's going to be for Davey Hendricks. Obviously saving some tires for the end for the 21 car.
Well, this is one of many times we've seen it all race. It seems like you can't really go halfway on the tires. You got to take 4 or you don't take any at all, because guys on the 2-tire strategy all race have shown a real lack of pace there. Not by their own faults, just having trouble getting the grip to keep up the pace necessary to hold with those guys on 4. But here is Ramos and Guzik battling for the 6th spot. Again, both guys out of the playoffs, both guys who have shown plenty of great flashes all season. Of course, Guzik tonight's pole sitter. We know he's got the pace, but the question is, how can he conserve those tires over a longer run? With only 1 pit stop to the finish, it's going to be very close on fuel. So you're definitely going to have to push those tires away. And that was the question, can Guzik do it? I think if he can, he has the pace to get up there back into the top 5, maybe even for the podium. But right now, he's got to worry about the 27 car. A little bit of sparks off the outside on the entry to turn number 1. And keep an eye there on Victor Weaver, who's been on new tires all night. And I believe is a lap down, but is definitely going to be battling for whatever he can.
Yeah, but let's take a look at Benjamin Lacey. He was heading down there to the inside of Trey Ellis. He's going to be able to make that pass work. So Benjamin Lacey's going to be up into 9th position following Eddie Hagge. But if we take a look at Brett Guzik, he's in front of Michael Ramos now. Made the big send down there to the inside line. And a little bit of a block there, sending himself across the 27's nose. Luckily, all clean through that straightaway. And the 04 Brett Guzik is going to be in 2nd position. Michael Ramos going to be directly behind him, and both of them there to the inside of Davey Hendricks. See, Brett Guzik got to be a little bit careful. Looked like he might have kind of cleared himself off of the nose of the 27 car. So definitely a risky move there, but again, Davey Hendricks, there you see him just seeming to fall back, and that obviously was not the correct call on that pit stop. It seems right now, but we'll see what it looks like when we get to the end of the race. Who knows? He may have a extra set of tires once we get to the end, and that nobody else is going to have. Ricky Hart Jr., though, sitting there in 3rd position with Nick Nickerson in front of him and Cody Welch directly behind him. Brandon Jackson is going to be your leader as the caution comes out, with Nick Nickerson right behind him. Trey Ellis, Jason Greenwell, and Terry Condis all involved in this yellow. Let's see if we can see what happened. So watching those guys, the 4-car, Trey Ellis up there on the outside, Greenwell in the 83, and Terry Condis coming in nowhere for him to go.
Yeah, really hard wreck there with the 32 car, Terry Condis, who came in late there. And really the first time we've seen 2 guys really try to go for the same piece of real estate. That's really how we always phrase it in these high-speed wrecks. But that's really what it is. Let's watch it one more time here and just confirm there. But it looks like, yeah, Greenwell really trying to go as wide as he could to try to take away the proper angle there from the number 4 car. It looked like he was going to try to give him room, but definitely wanted to start from the outside there on entry, kind of round out the corner and not too much pressure on the tires. And as a result, they're getting into Trey Ellis. Just so high speed, it can be tough to make those little judgments. And here, yeah, you just see Trey Ellis, really nothing he could do. It's not like he moved down, just the slightest little mistake from another driver, and that's all it takes to, well, to find yourself looking the wrong way. Gets back to speed fairly quickly. And the 32 car, Terry Condis, at such a high speed, now we're going to see his angle. An aggressive wreck. Plenty of smoke came off of this. Bang, right into the back of the 4 car, loses his hood, does plenty of spins, and that car is going to need a quick repair.
Yeah, and here you see guys in the pits. In the pits is going to be Nickerson, Ricky Hart Jr., Matt Crockett, Brandon Jackson right there. Oh, I'm sorry, not Nickerson.
Yeah,
not those guys.
Not Nickerson.
Yeah, Brandon Jackson is going to be your first driver out of the pits. Brett Guzik also in the pits. So is Michael Ramos, Benjamin Lacey, and Cody Welch. Cody Welch with a little bit of a longer pit stop right there. But Nick Nickerson, Ricky Hart Jr., Matt Crockett, Tyler Rowland, Benny Hogan, Steve Ulrich, and Mark Allen Bivens, the drivers to stay out.
Yeah, Cody Welch still on pit road. I don't know if there's some sort of confusion there on the race control side. He just had black flags cleared, meaning there's something going on there. I'm not sure if some sort of weird situation finally rolling off, but that is going to lose him plenty of spots. Still in the lead lap provisionally, but that is not what he wanted to see. Just battling up in the top 3, was battling with Hart for the final podium spot. That could have been crucial. Keep an eye there on pit road. A couple of guys still heading down here on this second entry lap, so a few guys going to change their minds there. But I was going to say, as you just mentioned a moment ago, Nick Nickerson didn't pit on that last pit stop, and I really like that move from both himself and Ricky Hart. I feel like with the timing of how both fuel and tires have gone to this point, I think we're running about 31, 32 laps at most on a stint, and we now have 44 laps to go to the finish. So you're going to have to make one more stop anyway. I think just wait if you're one of these drivers to keep the track position and try to make that extra stop later. So this is going to be great for Hart, going to be great for Nickerson, but Jackson isn't too far behind. So again, I'm not a driver in this series for a reason. These guys are better at strategy than I. But I think unless Jackson didn't take tires that was just a fuel stop to shorten its pit stop later, I think the 2 in the 64 car now have the advantage.
Yeah, the 2 and the 64 are going to be starting on the front row, followed by the 10 and the 99. There you can see the 99 as we look backwards from Nick Nickerson's view. And the playoff update, of course, the 2 and the 64 in first and second. Benjamin Lacey in the 7 car is going to be back in 7th position, and 85 of Cody Welch all the way back to 15th. But Benjamin Lacey and Cody Welch are going to be starting with newer tires on this restart than your 2 leaders. So the 7 and 85 with fresh tires. Oh, I'm sorry, actually, the 7 car does not have fresh tires. He did pit that time, but the 7 car will not have fresh tires starting there in the 7th position. So still old tires for the 7 car of Benjamin Lacey, but fresh tires for the 85 car of Cody Welch starting back in 15th position.
Well, we always do it here, Evan, in these broadcasts, and with how many long green flag runs we've had, again, I don't want to jinx it. I'm going to take a risk here and say if hypothetically this is the last caution, as we always do in the last cautions, we pick a winner based on what we've seen. Who's your pick here tonight, Evan?
You know, I feel like I've had that commentator's curse, so I'm afraid to pick anybody, but Brandon Jackson is a driver that is racing really hard tonight, and he's a guy that we've seen be fast. He's not in the playoffs, but he's sitting in 3rd place right now after that pit stop. He had a 6-second pit stop, so he obviously didn't take tires there. But something's telling me that 99 car, Brandon Jackson, is going to come out and do it. He wants this win almost just as much as anybody who's in the playoffs. He really wants to show these guys that he ought to be here, but at the same time, he doesn't have the pressure that Nickerson, Hart, Lacey, and Welch do. Something's telling me Brandon Jackson, but I don't know. Nick Nickerson always has the fast car and is always the favorite, and there you see he's off as the green flag is flying here at Kansas yet again. Nick Nickerson out front. Ricky Hart Jr., he's going to dive down to the bottom, and Brandon Jackson is going to be up there on the top. There you see the 64 car looking to make the pass on the 2 of Nick Nickerson. They're on the inside down the back straightaway. Nickerson's going to have the outside. The 64 car going to slot in up top, but Brandon Jackson's making that dive down low now. Looking to complete the slide job, but the 2 car Nick Nickerson is going to get in his way as these 3 drivers battle for the first position.
Yeah, what a great battle this is. I think the 99 car got a little bit too much of that inside white line, kind of got on the banking a little bit, and that lost him all his momentum. Going to try it again. The 99 car really confident down there on that bottom line. He's trying to use it any chance he gets. But that top line, so few gaps there. The 2 and the 64 car were bumper to bumper on entry there, a little bit further apart on exit. But the 99 car, he's got to watch it with that bottom line. The 04 car is going to make him pay now. He's going to try the bottom. You got to do it with the momentum you have, but so rarely does the inside line seem to work here at Kansas. We talked about the multi-groove racing, but this late in the run, it can be so hard to make it work. But keep an eye on Ricky Hart. Gets a great run up towards turn number 1, peak to the inside. And I think that move is coming sooner rather than later.
Yeah, Ricky Hart Jr. is the guy that we've seen him up front here tonight, but he hasn't necessarily been leading laps like Nick Nickerson or Brandon Jackson has. He's kind of been laying back, but he's ready to pounce now on lap 85 of 125. He's ready to get up there to the front, and he's ready to put his name on the top of the board. You can't let Nick Nickerson beat him. He's got to make up some ground in the point standings, and that's definitely what he's trying to do here as he dives down low to the bottom, trying to make up ground on the 2 car.
Speaking of diving down low, Davey Hendricks down at the bottom of the 27 car. He kind of got him there on the entry before we even got to 1, but he makes it stick all the way through. But again, that better run from the 27 car, you'll even see it here perfectly from this camera. Look at the ground he makes up there into turn number 3, but he kind of has to back off from that top line because so hard to get down to the bottom. You got to take a big risk there. So it's been a little bit more single line here late in these runs than I was expecting with that grip compound on the bottom there. But it's still going to pay off late in the race if we get another late race restart with fresher tires. So keep an eye on that in terms of tire strategy. But again, we're starting to kind of fan out into a bit of a parade here. the top 5, well, even the top 6, if you include Michael Ramos, all single file there on that top line. Nobody really able to make that move there. Nobody really able to take the risk to go down to the bottom, because as we saw with guys like Jackson and with Guzik, if you go down to the bottom and it fails, you run the risk of all those guys in the top line swallowing you up.
Yeah, and I feel like this is a time where you really want to save your tires. Lap 88 of 125, so there's not too long to go, but still enough time to definitely eat up a set of tires. You definitely want to save them, make them last as long as you can, and hopefully these guys are hoping that they can get that caution here at the end. They can come in, they can swap tires, and have fresh tires for the end of this race. Nick Nickerson, though, he's doing his best to save tires, but keep his gap out front. He's got a nice little gap, 0.31, 0.30 seconds out front. So 0.3 of a second out front right now. And it seems to be gaining, or Hart seems to be gaining just a little bit. Through that corner, not as much, but every corner is different. Ricky Hart Jr. pulling away and pulling back. So we'll have to see. Keep an eye on that 64 car, but let's take a look a little bit further back in the field, and you can see how close together Brett Guzik and Davey Hendricks are. Davey Hendricks getting a little bit antsy in the 21 car. Want to get by that 04.
Yeah, he's really pulling out a line, like kind of taking little peeks to the inside and outside of the 04 car that the other guys in the line really aren't taking. It might be interesting to have like a front nose cam on that 21 car off the front hood, because you can see as they run in line, the top 4 really aren't moving out of the way too much. They're just sticking to the top line, trusting that the guys ahead and behind aren't going to do anything. But the 21 car definitely looks a little bit more jumpy, a little bit more like he has something that he wants to do. You see there, the 4 car's perfectly in line, but the 21 car kind of peeking out to the inside, seeing if it's available. The 2 cars up front, those being Nickerson and Hart, are going to drop down to the apron. The other 2 guys in front of them, those being Jackson and Guzik, decide not to. So that's really the only main alteration these guys have on their lines. That's Hart got into the wall. I was just about to say somebody's getting wide there, and he got extra wide, got into the wall on the middle of the corner, wasn't able to keep it off the high line. These old tires here making that car impossible to drive, I'd imagine. Now both the 99 and the 04 to the bottom. Davey Hendricks is going to have an interesting decision to make. As the 64 car, again, just the tiniest mistake, either the bottom or top, can be huge. Ricky Hart wiped down by the 04 car. Brett Guzik had to dodge to avoid. Gets back on track, though. Great save to slow the gas down, keep it on track, and out comes the caution. That is going to be one of those moves that if Ricky Hart comes out of this season as the champion, we will look back at as being crucial. Great save by the 64 car.
Yeah, and let's take a look at that again. We're just going to go ahead and go straight to the replay. Take a look at it one more time. There you see the 04 going to split the middle here between the 99 and the 64. 21 car, Davey Hendricks right back there, and the 64 car is going to dip down low. But with that contact, the 04 getting into the wall and then bouncing off the wall, getting right into the 64 car of Ricky Hart Jr.
Yeah, just the tiniest bit of contact, too. It looked like he was fine. The 04 car didn't look particularly high up in the corner. I think it was just kind of a late groove on the wall where it fades out and fades back in again that he caught the edge of. Yeah, that's just the tiniest bit, kind of an awkward angle. But they barely made contact. It was just a case of as he moved down, I think the 64 car had to respond to the bottom. He had to try to dive low. He had no other choice but to either wreck or do that. And in turn, that little bit of quick thinking, that quick response time, has kept him in the top 5. And really in tonight's battle, as we've seen, guys are really able to make moves at the beginning of runs. So if Ricky Hart gets real aggressive here, presumably on new tires, I should mention, it'll be interesting to see what guys take new tires and what guys don't. But as we come down pit road, did Nick Nickerson stay out again? No, he didn't. So
Brandon Jackson and Brett Guzik making the quick move to stay out.
Yeah, so this is very literal in terms of race strategy, because with 30 laps to go, we can now officially make it on fuel. Guys have done 32-lap fuel runs so far in tonight's event, so guys are fine on fuel. The question is tires, and guys only have one more set of tires prior to this pit stop. So the guys that are still out are banking on a caution, because if we go 20 laps in, even if we only have 8 laps to go, if you take new tires and you're one of these 2 guys up front like Jackson or Guzik, we saw with Trey Ellis before how comedically fast guys can be on new tires. These guys can take that and use it to their advantage, and they'll fly through the field. But if you're guys that are pitting right now, like Nickerson, like Hendricks, you are pitting under the assumption that there won't be a caution to the end, which is risky, but we've seen some good green flag runs. So you're saying, I'm going to stay out, I'm going to get both fuel and tires. I'll be quicker the entire run and at the end of the race. And I'm going to assume that these guys are going to be left out on real old sets of tires. They'll never get the chance to pit except under green. And if they can do that, they're perfect. So this is the perfect kind of middle zone between strategies. Now is the question, do you think we're going to get a caution, or do you think we're not?
You know what they say, cautions breed cautions. And we're looking here at Brandon Jackson right now, sitting there on the lead here on lap 94 of 125 as we pace under caution. And, you know, I just got to think after this caution right here, there's got to be at least one more before we get to the end with guys being more aggressive. We've seen a great clean race here tonight, but I feel like guys are just going to get more aggressive as the race goes on, and I've got to expect that there's going to be another caution here tonight.
Yeah, I think we'll see, but Brandon Jackson's a really interesting guy to have up front here, because really all race, he's been the guy that's been making those moves down to the inside. He's been taking risks, as, you know, we call him Action Jackson for a reason. He's been the guy we've seen kind of testing the waters on an offensive level. You remember back to the beginning of the race, he was testing the bottom line before anybody else was. He's really the only guy still sticking to that make the inside move in the corners philosophy rather than on the straightaway or through the tri-oval. So he's really just kind of been focused on the offense all race, and I think it has been hurting him when he's been making those moves to the bottom. It's been letting the guys behind catch up, but now that he's up front, he's presumably going to take the outside line by preference, I would imagine, because it's a much better run down to turn one. And if he can really just focus on running the top line, try to pull away from the guys in behind, Nick Nickerson and Ricky Hart, the two guys that I believe pitted highest up in the order. Actually, Ricky Hart, I don't know if he took 2 tires or what, but he is ahead of Nick Nickerson now. He's sitting in 6th. So after almost getting in a wreck, only loses 1 spot. It's still 1 spot behind Davey Hendricks. So he's in a good spot in line. But if I'm Jackson, you want to get to the top line and pull away as quickly as possible from these guys. But Ricky Hart, I don't know if that was 4 tires or 2 tires. 2 tires might be risky. We've seen guys have trouble with that tonight. But to split it 2 and 2 between a caution now and a caution later might not be such a bad plan. And it's given him valuable track position ahead of championship rival, Mr. Nick Nickerson.
Yeah, Ricky Hart Jr., I assume, has taken 2 tires, a pit stop time of 7.98. So I would assume that that's going to be 2 tires for the 64 car. We'll see how it goes for him. But to do our little playoff update, of course, the 64 Ricky Hart Jr., the first one up, you have to go back to 10th position before you find Nick Nickerson, who did take 4 tires. Then you have Benjamin Lacey in 13th, who also took 4 tires and presumably had a little bit of damage repair. 19-second pit stop for him. Then 16th place for the 85 car, Cody Welch, who presumably took 4 tires and a 36-second pit stop, so a little bit of damage repair for him all the way back in 16th position, starting up there on the outside lane. But it's going to be Brandon Jackson who leads us back to green. Once the pace car ducks off, Brett Guzik is going to be to his inside.
And keep an eye there on Bill Harkins, kind of the wild card in this top 5. He's sitting there on the outside of row number 2. Keep an eye on him, see if he gets going on older tires. But the green flag waiting. The longest anybody's waited to get the jump. But Brandon Jackson now up to speed. Green flag for the 4th time in tonight's event. The 3rd off a caution. And there goes Jackson. Not quite as big of a jump as we've seen some other guys get. But there's a great battle right off the bat behind it between Brett Guzik and Michael Ramos. Non-championship drivers, but guys that have been quick all night. Bill Harkins getting swallowed up by both Davey Hendricks and Ricky Hart, who are going by. Ricky doesn't quite get to the top line as soon as he would have liked. Now does. And he's going to have a great slipstream down the back of Davey Hendricks. But here goes Trey Ellis again. Must have taken 4 tires, but there is Nick Nickerson. You want to talk about 4 tires, that is a confident inside the line. The 2 car, for the first time in a very long time, might have the freshest tires of anybody in the field.
Yeah, huge move there from Nick Nickerson. You saw Trey Ellis dive down to the bottom line, and even though Trey Ellis went to the lower line, Nick Nickerson went to the even more inside line. They're right on the yellow line, as close as he could be, and that put him in 6th position right now. Those new tires really working out for him, and he has to take advantage of them while he can. Sitting in 6th, Ricky Hart Jr. right in front of him in 5th, up there on that top line, but Ricky Hart Jr. is stuck behind Davey Hendricks, who's now going to dive down to the inside of Michael Ramos. So the 21 car and the 27 car are going to be side by side with this battle here for 3rd position. Brett Guzik and Brandon Jackson going to be in front of them, but not anymore. The 21 car, Davey Hendricks, going to be in front of the 04 Brett Guzik through this corner, but I don't think he'll be able to hold it along the back straightaway. The 04 Brett Guzik is going to have the run, and there you saw the run that the 27 car Michael Ramos had till he had to whoa up because of Brett Guzik in front of him. But look at the 7 car of Benjamin Lacey, putting it inside in the middle.
Yeah, Benjamin Lacey coming out of nowhere. The 2 is in the tri-oval, so he's going to have a little bit of ground there to make up as we go side by side into 1. But Lacey is presumably taking 4 tires. Now 3 wide through turn number 1. This late in the race is incredible. Davey Hendricks there up to the top. Again, must not have new tires, but the 7 car gets the 2, gets the 21, and puts himself up to second. Benjamin Lacey, I talked about pre-race. He's got to have a big night tonight. He's got to really shoot for the moon, go for the very front of the race order tonight to make up his points deficit, and he is doing so. Passes the points leader in style and is trying to take off in that 7 car.
Yeah, Benjamin Lacey, like you said, he's got to have a good night, and he's definitely trying to do it, sitting in second place right now. And look at the send from the 8 car of Kevin Foster down there to the inside to get past the 2 of Nick Nickerson. But out in front, oh no, Benjamin Lacey just took the lead. I was trying to figure out where the 99 car of Brandon Jackson was. Well, now he's behind the 7 of Benjamin Lacey. Lacey to the lead, Brandon Jackson to second position. Now Kevin Foster trying to get by the 99 car of Brandon Jackson.
And this is it. Brandon Jackson's going to be desperately hoping for a caution, and that is the last thing Benjamin Lacey wants to see. He can get to the end on fuel. He's got newer tires than anybody late in the run. This could be a crucial race for Lacey's championship hopes. Could be a great Kansas race here, but this is going to be a fun battle. The 2 and the 99 with Hendricks and Welch waiting in the background. You couldn't script it much more exciting. Here goes the 2 car down to the bottom again. We've seen Jackson down there all race, but now the 2 car's got the grip down there. Brandon Jackson taking the risk on tires. It's not going to pay off in the short term, but keep an eye on a caution. Cody Welch will also make the move there on Brandon Jackson, so he gets by. Now up into 4th. Davey Hendricks going to be soon to follow, I would imagine, based on the momentum of the 99 car. Benny Hogan as well, out of nowhere, currently sits in 7th. Now he's to the bottom of Davey Hendricks. We're 3 wide off the exit of 2. Now he's to the bottom of Jackson. Great run here. Jackson kind of blocking in the 21 car from going low. Benny Hogan now to the inside. That'll put him up into the top 5. So a great run here for the 88 car. And I think this will be Hendricks' opportunity to make it by the inside of Jackson. But man, how much we've seen the race order swap in just a couple laps. And also keep an eye on Kevin Foster. Kind of had a silent last couple laps, but he is out of nowhere moved up to second, and he is to the inside right behind the number 7 car.
But here's the thing that you've got to remember. Brandon Jackson has older tires than all these guys. So Brandon Jackson in 7th, Michael Ramos in 9th position has older tires. We can't forget that. And that should mean that they have one more set of tires in the pits. I'm not positive about that, but it should mean that Brandon Jackson and Michael Ramos are going to have another set of tires in the pits. So if a caution comes in the next 20 laps, as we get towards the end of this race, if these guys can get some new tires, you've seen how fast these cars are on new tires. If they can get some new tires, they'll be flying up through the field. But here, look at Kevin Foster, who not only is in second position, but he's battling for the lead and challenging the 7 car of Benjamin Lacey for the lead. It's the 7 and 8 for the number 1 position.
Yeah, he's going to have a little bit of trouble here off the exit of corner number 4. Again, Lacey, if you're on the top line, you're going to have the better run on the straightaway. But yeah, he is definitely making plenty of progress here on the corners. He just looks really comfortable and is finding those opportunities to make up time, whether it be running the inside or the full bottom. But to your point there about the cautions, not only is Brandon going to want to see a caution for his strategy, but he wants to see one fairly soon. The later that caution gets pushed back, the less time he has there to try to make it back through the field. And again, if you're going back as a result of a pit stop in the race order, you got to have the time to make your way back through, even on new tires. But here is Trey Ellis, who's had a great race for himself tonight, making the move there on the number 27 car. So that'll put him back into, I think, 8th provisionally. Not sure where. Actually, Mitch Sullivan. Great race for him. Kind of came out of nowhere, but up 23 spots is the number 18 car. So perhaps on an alternate strategy, but he is up into the 7th spot. Brandon Jackson not too far behind. And Ellis, the pass is for 9th, I should clarify. So Michael Ramos right behind him runs off the top 10. Ricky Hart has now fallen out of the top 10, back to 12, looking at the back end of the 76 of Mark Allen Bivens.
Yeah, those 2 tires just haven't worked very well all night. I'm assuming that's what he did on that last pit stop and all the way back to 12th position now. But that should mean that he can take 2 more tires if there is another caution. And I mean, 2 tires have to be better than nothing. So we'll see what happens if another caution comes out. Like, I see a guess in the comments that there is going to be another caution. But while we were talking about all that, Kevin Foster, your new leader of the night.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we get a moment, possibly, if you go back to lap 107, turn number 2, Lacey took a big shunt off the outside wall through turn number 2, was scraping the outside for what felt like 3 or 4 seconds. He was just well off the pace there, and in turn let more guys by. And it looks like well, he's a little bit better. I was looking at my replay again, but there it is. You see, well, that's the 85 and the number 8 car by. Just again, those little scrapes off the outside wall take all your momentum away, and that one little mistake might not only put his race in jeopardy, but his championship hopes as well. That was a rough, untimely incident there for Lacey. But again, he's still in the conversation, still in the battle there. But you can see just how crucial one little mistake on an exit can be.
16 laps to go now. Kevin Foster out front. Nick Nickerson in second, followed by Cody Welch, Benjamin Lacey, and Benny Hogan to round off your top 5. Ricky Hart Jr. down in 12th position. So your playoff drivers, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And a great job from Cody Welch in that 85 car to work his way up after that caution to sit in 3rd position right now. You know his tires have to be used up, but he's still making them work.
Yeah, he's a great recovery since earlier. You saw that little tiny incident before that put him back in the order. This is the 4 and the 76 car in a great battle. This is another one of those battles that could have an effect on the actual drivers fighting for the win here, because Brandon Jackson, remember, didn't take tires that last time by. He's hoping for a caution, but he also wants to be as far through the field order as he can possibly be here. And again, he's got to go to that bottom line to get by, but on old tires, you're just hanging yourself up to dry. Now he's going to pit. This is extra bold because, so he's presumably going to go a lap down. The lap here is too quick at Kansas to not lose a lap when you take a full pit stop, a full green flag run. So he's going to come in for just tires, presumably, unless he needs fuel. But the other thing this suggests is that maybe he doesn't think he can make it to the end on fuel. Maybe this is a fuel race in his mind. He'll take new tires, try to run some quick laps. But now this brings into question, is Kevin Foster going to have to start thinking fuel? Something that I thought with about a 32-lap run you could do pretty consistently based on what we saw earlier.
And there you saw Brandon Jackson not very happy. I don't know if he's happy with the strategy or something that happened on track, but his head in his hands, possibly speeding on pit road, I don't know, but obviously not happy as he heads back onto the racetrack right now. He was up front. He was doing a great job, but something's got him down right now.
Yeah, nothing I can see from the looks of it looking back at the replay, but back up to the front. Kevin Foster, Nick Nickerson, Cody Welch, still your top 3, but Benjamin Lacey fighting back, trying to get back into the top 3 at least if he's not going to come away with the win as it seemed a moment ago, which again is still in the cards potentially. But right now, he's going to try to take down one of his championship adversaries for 3rd, and what a great podium it would be. It's been a little while since we've seen the number 7 car on the podium, so great time to return here in the opening round of the final round of the Bandit Racing League Xfinity Series. But yeah, the 85 car just looking rock solid there. Interesting that these guys are back to the bottom line as a default, but the 4 and the 76 still battling. This is the battle for 8th on track, and again, a great spot for both these guys, especially if they're able to finish ahead of championship contender Ricky Hart. Still side by side. The 76 car looking rock solid up there in the top line, but the 4 car not falling back too far in his own right as well, so must have fairly new tires with the 4 car of Trey Ellis to be keeping in the line, almost making contact there. But again, a really clean battle between these two guys, but now that inside the line just unfortunately too tough on the run there. I think the 76 is going to clear from the outside, plus the better run. The 76 car of Mark Allen Bivens should take over that number 8 spot pretty consistently, but there goes Ellis again. He's going to give it one more good try, but no, I think the 76 car might clear him. Got great grip out of the middle of the corner there, and we're still side by side between the 76 and the 4 car. But speaking of side by side, back up to 3rd, this battle between Welch and Lacey continues to heat up.
Yeah, this battle definitely heating up, but one more thing to add to that last battle that we were watching, that 4 car of Trey Ellis that was battling with Mark Allen Bivens, or still is battling with Mark Allen Bivens now. Actually, they're side by side. That 4 car of Trey Ellis, he pitted on lap 93, and he didn't get tires. The 76 of Mark Allen Bivens did get tires on that pit stop, but look at the 04 car of Brett Guzik through the middle. So yeah, the 76 of Mark Allen Bivens is on fresher tires than the 4 car of Trey Ellis, but that shows you how well Trey Ellis is doing. Pretty much everybody on older tires has not been able to compete at all on someone with fresher tires, but here's Trey Ellis coming out in front of the 76 of Mark Allen Bivens. A great job from him on older tires.
Yeah, that's a great catch. That is really impressive there then from the 4 car. I mean, yeah, if this is a case of different tire situations, I'm amazed Ellis is getting as much run as he's getting off the bottom. I mean, you saw a minute ago, I basically counted him out of the battle because he was forced to the bottom line. But again, if he's on newer tires, that could be crucial. Benjamin Lacey, not only has he made the move on Cody Welch, who must have made a mistake at some point. He's fallen back 2.5 seconds since we last checked in on him. But now Lacey to the outside of the points leader, going to go all the way around the high side. Benjamin Lacey fighting back through the order with 8 to go. I just talked about a moment ago, don't count him out of the race win yet. Man, he might be proving me right for the first time all season. We typically tend to jinx drivers, but perhaps this is a reverse jinx situation. He is flying in that number 7 car. Benjamin Lacey fighting for all he's worth to take home the win. Ricky Hart Jr., important to mention, this is crucial in the championship point status. He has just had internet issues that have forced him to drop out. He is now down in 20th and presumably going to keep falling. That is brutal for the number 64 car, Ricky Hart. That'll have huge championship implications, but for now, Jackson continues his attempt to work through the field on newer tires, trying to get to the end on an alternate strategy. Now he's going to go by the 85 car of Cody Welch on the lead lap, who on my timing, oh, he's still in the lead lap. He's just fallen back. Yeah, the 85 car of Cody Welch. I don't know if he's saving fuel or what, but he is having some troubles there in that entry. And the race order considerably shaken up from just a moment ago.
Yeah, and Mitchell Liam Sullivan here now in the 18, going to be able to get by Davey Hendricks. But look at the 27 car outside of him, and the 99 car going to split the 18. Now, both of those guys a lap down. The 18 car is on the lead lap, but he's in older tires. Now, the 25 car, Steve Ulrich, also coming in the pits. And here comes the 18 car to the pits. So we'll see if some of these other guys have to pit. Like it seems like they might have to do.
Victor Weaver almost went completely around in front of Jackson. Had a great save there. That could have been huge for both guys' races just a quick moment ago. Yeah, let's get a replay on that. Huge puff of steam coming out. I think Ramos maybe got in the back of him running quicker. Weaver on old tires, Ramos on new. As we cross the line, gets in front of him. Great save, though. Look at the 23 car keeping the hands moving. Avoids wrecking in front of 2 major drivers in tonight's race. Now he's on the apron, I think, heading back into or out of pit road. But back up to the front. Kevin Foster continues to look comfortable. And Benjamin Lacey is no longer making up a considerable amount of room.
Yeah, but now let's look at Brandon Jackson sitting in 13th position right now. And this is the closest battle on the racetrack right now. Him and Michael Ramos directly in front of him, the battle for 12th position as Jackson tries to work his way up through the field. Both of these drivers, Ramos and Jackson, they pitted on the same time, on the same lap, and both got fresh tires. There you can see him go by the 8 car, Kevin Foster, getting their lap back. They were 1 lap down previously, but going by that 8 car, Kevin Foster, they're going to now be on the tail end of the lead lap.
Being a lap, so just looking throughout the field, trying to check lap times, we come towards 2 to go this next time by. And, well, as hard as he's trying there, as hard as he's pushing, Benjamin Lacey doing everything he can. Kevin Foster was a full 3/10 faster that last time by. We'll see this lap. But Benjamin has to pit. I was just saying about fuel strategy. I thought it was an almost certain run to the finish, but Benjamin Lacey finally has to bite the bullet and come down one more time. Have Nickerson and Foster perfectly calculated? They haven't. Foster is slowing significantly. Nickerson went from 2.5 seconds back to just under half a second. Foster might be running out of gas. The question is, can Nickerson make it? This went from a tires race to a fuel race real quick. 1 to go next time by. And the 8 car is heading to the apron. He's pitting this time by. Almost wrecks the 2 car. We're coming to 1 to go. Nick Nickerson has not won a fuel race all season. Foster's down below the white line. 1 to go. Can Nickerson's 2 car make it to the finish?
Nickerson out front. Benny Hogan is going to be in 2nd position and a good ways back as the white flag flies. The 85 car of Cody Welch sitting in 7th. The 7 of Benjamin Lacey sitting in 11th. And Ricky Hart Jr. all the way back in 23rd position.
Nick Nickerson, I can see in his cockpit, almost half throttle all the way around. He must be so close. But out of turns number 3 and 4, it is not going to matter. Nick Nickerson, win number 7 on the season, and what better time to do it? The points leader starts off the final round with a win. Nick Nickerson wins at Kansas, and an up and down roller coaster of a race, and he does it for the first time all season on fuel. Benny Hogan, look at the 88 car coasting to the line, almost dying. Matt Crockett, out of nowhere, takes home 2nd. Benny Hogan rolls across for 3rd, and two guys from 16th to 2nd for Crockett and 22nd to 3rd for Hogan. Incredible race from both Matt Crockett and Benny Hogan. Brandon Jackson, we talked about that different strategy. He comes home for 4th. So again, not a championship driver. That won't matter a ton. But what a salvaged race there for the 99 car. Really happy to see he did so well there at the end with all his struggles. Benjamin Lacey, the next championship driver to mention, 2nd on the championship order from Nickerson to 7th. Was the gap between the top two in the playoffs. So Benjamin Lacey comes home for 7th in the end with that last pit stop. Welch comes home for 9th. And again, Ricky Hart Jr., late race disconnect there in the internet side of things. He will only come home with 23rd. So big championship implications, but incredible ones for Nick Nickerson. What a great timing to win tonight's event. Matt Crockett's doing donuts, and I'd imagine Nick Nickerson probably just did as well.
I'm sure Nick Nickerson would love to do some donuts, but I don't believe he's able to. I believe that 2 car is out of gas as he has already pulled himself back into the garage. But there's the 10 car of Matt Crockett, who finished 2nd, like you said, doing donuts, and a great run from him. And a beautiful paint scheme on that 10 car. Matt always has some of the best paint schemes, as well as some of the best social media posts. If you haven't checked out Bandit Racing League on Instagram and Facebook, he's the one behind it. A great job from Matt, Benny Hogan, and Nick Nickerson to come away with your top 3 spots, as well as Brandon Jackson finishing in 4th, like you said, and Michael Ramos to round out your top 5. But instead of just talking about it, let's look at your race results. I've already mentioned Nickerson, Crockett, Hogan, Jackson, and Ramos. But let's check out the rest of your lead lap finishers. In 6th place was Trey Ellis. Then Benjamin Lacey, your second playoff driver, the 7 car, finishing in 7th, followed by Davey Hendricks, Cody Welch, and Kevin Foster to round out your top 10 and the lead lap. Behind him was Bill Harkins, 1 lap down, as well as Mark Allen Bivens, Eddie Hagge, Mitchell Sullivan, and Gary Wright to round out your top 15 drivers.
Brett Guzik after that, tonight's pole sitter kind of dropped back throughout the course of the race tonight. He'll come home 16th. Steve Ulrich after that finishes in 17th. Kale Zook in 18th, Kem Janer in 19th. David Leakey will round off the top 20 after qualifying in 7th. Terry Condis up there in 21st. Then it's Victor Weaver in 22nd. Again, Ricky Hart Jr., playoff contender. Internet issues will put him out in 23rd. Not a great finish for him tonight. I'm sure he would have liked better, but he had a great race overall. Tyler Rowland will put the 80 car in the 24th spot. He had a good race as well, but again, dropped out early in the event. Jason Greenwell comes home in 25th. Alan Castle in 26th. James R. Hartley left early in the event. Same with Wesley Fuller. They finished in 27th and 28th, respectively. Thomas Funzer had a great start to the race, qualified in 6th, left early, and finished in 29th. And Mason Flagar left very early in the event, only 12 laps in, and he will come home as tonight's final driver in 30th.
All right, so I'm going to see if we can get Benny Hogan pulled down into the broadcast booth, your 3rd place finisher tonight. All right, so we've got him, and I'm going to go ahead and throw it to Marshall, who's with Benny Hogan.
Hey, Benny, it's Marshall in the broadcast booth. You got me?
Yes, sir.
First of all, congratulations, Benny. Great race there overall, and that one was an up and down affair from start to finish. I'd imagine even by the end there, it was hard to believe how much things had swapped around. We found out late that it was going to be a fuel race, and so many guys seem to have troubles there, and some guys seem to pick it up pretty quick and were able to conserve early on in that last run. Where were you on that side of things? I mean, you were able to make it there on fuel. It looked like just barely like many of the other drivers. On what lap did you realize it was going to be a fuel race, and how much were you doing to try to conserve there at the end?
I was doing everything I could. I knew when we went back to green, Nick said something about it was going to be tough to make it. And so I was trying to watch it pretty much from the very beginning of that run. But I ran out actually going into 3 on the final lap.
Yeah, I was just about to say, we were watching you there at the very end. You came like millimeters away. The car was going to run out pretty soon after there. So you came so close. But there in those final couple laps, it was kind of all races we've seen, as opposed to last week at the All-Star race, where it was all about the wrecks, just trying to make your way through the field. We had a relatively green flag race tonight, but strategy was so key, whether it be tires and fuel. Just talk about tonight from that perspective in car, when you have so many things like tires and fuel to take into account, and very few cautions to do it. You know, are you one of those guys that's able to, you know, make those calculations in car? Did you feel good about that side of things tonight rather than just the actual driving?
No, I don't. I don't have any of that stuff to look at all the calculations, and I just knew I didn't do any practice this week. I had about 30 minutes of practice tonight on this track. It's the first time I've ever seen it, and so I just knew starting from the rear that it was going to be an attrition race as long as it went green. And so I just I think I went one or two stints on a set of tires, and I was just trying to save tires from the very beginning so that I would at least have something at the end. And the caution, I think the next to last caution, went my way, and luck fell my way finally, and so I was able to hang with them.
Well, in a race like this, as you talk about where it's attrition, it's so much about conservation of every sort. To win like this can't just be luck. It's got to be skill too. And it was a great performance, man. You knew exactly what kind of race you had to run, and you ran it to a T. Whether you felt confident about your ability to do the calculations there or not, I know it's certainly not my ideal scheme of things in this car. But overall, I mean, you win this late in the season. We only got 3 races to go after tonight. We're now into the final round of the playoffs. You're back in the top 5. You're on the podium. Does it feel any sweeter to have a position this great, knowing how much those guys at the front in the championship 4 were fighting for the win?
Oh yeah, I mean it's really cool. I know last week at the All-Star race, I was running second, and my internet went out, and so that ended my night there. And just with this things going on lately at home, and I hadn't been able to practice and race like I really want to. So and tonight I wasn't even gonna race tonight, and I said I had some free time opened up unexpected, and I just jumped in, and I said I'm just gonna give it my best shot, and whatever happens happens, and try to drive a clean race, and just see what happens.
Awesome. Well, I bet you're glad you did. It was so awesome to watch it. I feel great for you because yeah, that was a great run from start to finish, and to win a race by again just feet that the car just barely crawled over the line. That's got to be a pretty storybook feeling there. But as we always do here in the interviews, and again, very well deserved tonight for you in that 3rd spot. We always give guys the opportunity to maybe shout out some sponsors, some people at home, and really just talk about whatever you like. So now is your time to do so.
Oh no, I just again, like I've said before, my kids, my wife, I'm very family oriented, and I spend as much time with them as I can, and uh, you know I just enjoy them, and this is my little deal away from work and away from the busyness of life, and it's just kind of my way to relax. So I appreciate them, and I appreciate you guys putting it on. I appreciate Bill and everybody putting the league on. I really enjoy it.
Awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. It's always a pleasure on our end. And yeah, I don't know if tonight was as relaxing as maybe you hoped, but I bet the 3rd place there kind of cancels that out, doesn't it?
Yes, sir. No, I'm very excited, very tickled, and I mean I never really got excited about it. It is what it is, and I just knew it had to fall my way for it to happen, and it did.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, Benny, man. We'll see you next week. We go to Homestead in just a week's time, so we'll see you there. We'll see if you can keep this positive momentum up. Maybe we'll have a very similar race at a slightly similar track. But until then, have a great rest of your week, Benny. We'll see you next Wednesday.
All right, you too, Marshall. Thank you.
All right, that was Benny Hogan, driver of the 88. And now down here I have Matt Crockett with me. Matt, you got a copy?
Yes, sir. You got me?
Yes, sir, I do. Definitely a great run from you tonight. It was your first top 5 on the season, your 3rd top 10 on the season. And kind of walk us through your mindset before this race. Did you expect it to really come down to fuel strategy in the end? Is that something that you expected?
Absolutely not. Did not expect that at all. Expected there to be obviously more cautions. Having 30 cars start tonight and only having the few cautions that we did, and honestly, one caution should have been a ghost caution. Should have never happened. But yeah, it was surprising.
Well, kind of walk us through your strategy there at the end. Were you worried that you weren't going to make it? I don't know how close you were, but I know Nick, I believe, was very close. I know Benny Hogan that finished right behind you. They were really close on gas. Were you close just like those guys, or did you have plenty enough in the tank?
Well, that last stint there, that last few laps there, I started saving from the moment of get-go and started clutching in, going into 1, all the way to the middle of 1 and letting it out, and then clutching all the way into the middle of 3 and letting it out. And I run race labs, and I have a counter on my screen that allows me to see how much I'm actually saving, and it continued to let me build up. I started off at point 0 to point 2 up to point 6 and crossed the line with literally point 3 left in the tank.
Well, hey, that's awesome. I saw you had enough to do a couple burnouts there at the end. Definitely, at least you left yourself enough to have a good time there at the end. But some of the next tracks that we've got coming up, we've got Miami, Road America, and Richmond. Now, you don't have really a stake in the playoffs, but I know you're going to go out there and have fun. Are those tracks that you're excited for, or what?
Yeah, I'm absolutely excited for Homestead. Is always a great race. Eats up tires just like this racetrack. So honestly, it could be another fuel strategy and tire strategy. I had one extra set of tires actually in the pits for tonight that I did not use because I didn't know if it was going to be green, white, checker, just in case. So that should be interesting. And then the road course, I can tell you for a fact, I am not looking forward to that. But still strap in and see what I can do.
Well, hey, and if we go, we've got 4 weeks left in the season, or 3 weeks now that this race is over. But if we talk about next season, we're running the trucks next season, and it hasn't necessarily officially been announced our schedule for next season, but probably going to have a couple races on dirt. So things different. I know you're obviously instrumental in doing things with the league, and I think you're excited about those trucks. What do you expect next season? Do you expect it to be a lot of fun? I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I actually do Road to Pro in the trucks sometimes, and the fact is they're fun to race. They're very close. Passing is tight, and being low horsepower and everything like that. I mean, it's going to be strategy again, and next season is going to be a doozy. Going, dirt track racing and maybe a few other places, and the schedule's kind of quiet right now, so that will be released soon, and you should see it all over Facebook.
Yeah, the next season will be fun. And, of course, everybody go and check out the Bandit Racing League on Facebook. Matt's the one behind that. He does a great job at doing it. After every single race, I'm sure he's going to hop off here, and then he's going to work on posting his Facebook post, and he does a great job at taking care of that, so everybody ought to go check it out. But I'm sure you've seen the broadcast. I know that this is your time to go ahead and shout out whoever you want, talk about whoever you want. This is your time to take control of the broadcast, so go ahead.
Well, I do appreciate that, Evan. But Evan, Marshall, you guys kick butt. Seriously, great job. Can't thank my wife, my family, my boy enough. My mom, my dad, they watch in Arizona. Can't thank them enough. My whole family that gets behind me. Can't thank Alpine Stars. Can't thank Southern New Hampshire University esports team, and Utah Foster Care. They supported me big time this season, and it's been a real eye-opening experience, and it's just been fantastic. And you guys, Evan Wall, Marshall, hats off, seriously.
Thank you. We're glad to have you here. You guys, the drivers, are really what makes it fun to watch here, coming to race every single week. And I'm not going to be the one behind the broadcast next season, but I know Marshall is going to do just as good, and he's going to bring just as good of a product for everyone to watch. So thank you to everyone, and thank you, Matt.
Absolutely, and everybody, please go to Evan Wall Media on YouTube, subscribe, and do not forget to hit that notification bell so you can get some updates on what's going on.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You have a great day tonight, and we will see you next week as we head to Miami. Obviously, that was Matt Crockett with the 10 car, and now I'm going to go ahead and throw it down to Marshall, who is with the driver of the 2 car, Nick Nickerson, tonight's race winner.
Hey, Nick, it's Marshall up here on the broadcast booth. You got me?
Hey, how's it going, man?
It is going well. Welcome back, Mr. Nick Nickerson. I mean, tonight, it's the first time. I thought, I even said it pre-race, you've done it so many different ways this season. You've done it at the short tracks, you've done it at the mid-range tracks, you've done it at the big tracks, and you've done it at the road courses. You've won in so many different ways this year. But I think tonight was the first time you've properly done it on fuel. That was stressful. Yeah. The fact that you couldn't even get back around to do the donuts there at the end should speak volumes. It's kind of similar to what I asked there to Benny earlier, but just what was kind of that moment you realized it was going to be so close on fuel, and what was it like trying to balance running slow to keep your fuel as much as you could for the end there, but also try to keep pace with the guys that, like Brandon, were on a bit of a different strategy there at the end.
Man, yeah. So in the beginning, when we got that last restart, I for sure thought there was going to be another yellow, and then those laps I could save enough fuel to probably just go full out. But after like 10, 15 laps, when I realized everybody was just kind of getting in line, I'm like, man, we're going to go all the way, because when people start saving fuel, they're not driving as hard. And at that point, I was just sticking it to the bottom, trying to make the smallest line around the track possible. And, just lifting super early. In the last 10 laps, I was actually clutching it, turning off my engine, going into the corner, and kicking it back on. And I literally ran out of fuel as I crossed the start-finish line. Like, I'm not even exaggerating one bit.
Wow. Yeah.
That was pure luck.
It's the exact same thing Benny said, but like at a certain point, when you come that close and you're doing stuff like, turning the engine off in the corner, it's like you can only say luck so much. For at a certain point, not many other guys were going to think of that. So that's that is pretty impressive. But like overall, I mean, tonight, really from start to finish, so many different strategies for guys on tires. I know a lot of guys pitted there at the beginning. Some guys didn't. And overall, it wasn't even consistent between the 4 championship guys. I mean, you come into tonight, it's the last round of the playoffs. It's you, obviously Cody, and Benjamin, and Ricky. As you see the guys throughout the field, both on different strategies at times, at the same strategy at others, as a driver, is that in your head all the way through, knowing there's 3 other guys that you're really battling with? Do you see those guys differently on track, or are you just treating them like another one of the 30 in tonight's race?
Honestly, just at right now, just Cody, because we were so close. I think we were only 4 points separation. So, I don't know what his plan was, but I was going to try to mimic him as much as possible, just so I don't get stuck on the wrong end of a strategy. And I know he got on the wall a couple times, went back, but he was able to rebound on that last stint with a brand new car, and it looks like fresh tires. It's just unfortunate that he was obviously trying to save fuel too, and got put back. But other than that, I mean, I got enough cushion on the other 2 guys, Benjamin and Hart, but it's just Cody. I got to watch out for these next couple races.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's a guy that doesn't, I don't think all season, I don't think he's had 2 bad races in a row. And I mean, again, dude finished 9th. Like, to say it's a bad race really speaks to the high quality, the high level that you guys have put yourselves in all year. But now tonight, you come away with the win. You start the final round on a perfect note. You're going to be quick at Road America. So I think things are looking good for you. I say it every week, but the betting odds got to be in your favor. But next week, we go to a fairly similar track, I'd say. Maybe not in terms of the layout. Definitely looks different than Kansas, not a tri-oval. But I think many guys, both guys in the previous 2 interviews, have suggested that it's going to be very similar in terms of might be a race of attrition, might be a race of tires. Now that you've won a race of both of those things, how are you going to carry what you've learned over tonight into round 2 of the round at Miami?
Man, just again, just keeping the car clean off the wall the whole time. I think that's very important, so you don't get stuck in the back of the field and have to try to weave your way back up. That's always been a key of mine since Iowa this year, is to stay up front as long as possible and never try to pit early to get like a tire strategy, because I always get stuck behind the entire field, and a track like this is very difficult to pass. And I'm not sure about Homestead. I know they got like a track surface upgrade, so I know the High Line is supposed to be a little faster than it was before. We're just gonna have to do extensive testing to see how it plays out. But that's actually a race I won last year on pure luck. So I'll have to see how this one goes. Hopefully, hopefully I can at least be up in the front on the final laps. We'll see.
Yeah, that's always the hope. And yeah, you make a good point. It feels like guys that are able to run a little bit longer, try to prioritize staying at the front, kind of find themselves there end of the race. So we'll see if that works again next week. Hopefully, for your sake, you'll find yourselves there from the beginning, as you often qualify on pole, and you find a way to work yourself through there to the end. But yeah, I mean, again, tonight was just kind of a flex of muscle there. You were already the points leader. You have a commanding lead, even more so now over the other guys in the championship. You just gotta keep a cool head, just do your thing, and I think you got a good chance. But I'm not even going to give you the spiel. You know what happens here at the end of the interviews. We do this all the time. It's your opportunity, man.
First, I got to congratulate Matt, man. Pulling on that second with that. That's a very difficult thing to do, to try to save fuel. iRacing's fuel-saving model seems weird to me. Not that I know how it actually works in real life, from experience, but it seems like it's very difficult to save fuel, and he was able to pull off and get it for a second. Congratulations to him. And I got to thank, again, Matt and Bill, for putting on this league, man, and everybody that participates. It's a ton of fun. Look forward to every Wednesday. Thank you guys for putting on the broadcast, man.
Hey, I got to thank you back because, again, we don't talk about it a ton, but you're the guy that does stuff behind the scenes as well. Same as Matt and Bill, like you're doing the points and stuff behind the scenes like that. So you have just as big of a role. And again, we trust you here. You've come away with now 7 wins. We're not suggesting you're going to rig them. So pretty safe guy there to put up front, but in charge of that, I should say. But yeah, overall, just you do it again, man. You do it at a different track than any of your last maybe 4 or 5 wins, and you're just proving you can do it anywhere. You got 3 different tracks to finish off the year. And we'll see you both for the next 3 weeks to see if you can round off the championship. And we can't wait to see you next year, or next season, I should say, in the new truck season. So you got plenty of exciting stuff ahead of you. And I wish you the best of luck.
Hey, looking forward to it, man. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Have a good rest of your week, Nick.
You too, man. Later.
That was Marshall with Nick Nickerson, and that is going to do it for us tonight as we wind up our race at Kansas. Nick Nickerson winning the race, followed by Crockett, Hogan, Jackson, and Ramos. And just one more time, I want a big thank you to all the drivers for making tonight so fun. It was really, in my opinion, one of the best races that we've had all season. And again, like I said at the beginning, I wanted to dedicate this race to my grandmother that passed away a couple of days ago. I'll be leaving either later tonight or early in the morning to head up from Tuscaloosa to North Alabama to go to her funeral. But just, again, to thank you to all the drivers for making tonight such a fun night and being able to have such a good time here in the booth. And I just want to shout out the Parkinson's Foundation at parkinson.org and the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research at michaeljfox.org. And the links to both of those are down in the bio if you want to take a look at them and possibly donate in order to support their mission to improve care and advance research towards a cure for Parkinson's disease. So again, we just thank you to all the drivers for making tonight so fun and being able to get up here and have a good time broadcasting. A huge thank you to all of you guys that out there that put the race on. And we'll see you all next week. We've got Miami, Road America, and Richmond. It's going to be a fun end of the season, and Nick Nickerson is just stacking points on top of points with the next points finisher, or the next playoff finisher, being all the way down in 7th position. So we'll see you guys next week. Y'all have a good time over the weekend and stay safe. And let me get the schedule pulled up before we go off. Yeah, it's going to do it for us tonight. And we will see you guys next week.